meeting.
Yeah. Let me just get a snack first.
Snack? I brought a snack.
Oh, that's okay. I'm good.
No. I got this. Told you I brought a snack.
There's a better way to eat pickles on the go. Sucker Punch, the snack with a snap.
Look at the number of participants who had a shot at this, who wanted to be one of 12 of 60-something thousand. I mean, that's impressive in and of itself. What a diverse group of drivers, what a diverse group of participants. Just really cool. They should all be very, very proud.
Players around 4 platforms. I mean, I'm lucky to be here.
We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the sky. We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the sky. Hickory dog, giving them to determine. Right in the storm, but focus on rainbow connections like Kermit. The water on my shoulders, it was a burden. Now I don't notice it, everything turning, everything shifting, doing it different. I'm floating, I'm drifting. Shout out the slums, round the world we uplifted, doing it big. We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. We about to change the game. We out here.
Every one of them deserves to be there, celebrating the fact that they were here and a part of this very first ever Prodigy Week for Racing Prodigy, and what a 3 days it was.
And here we go, they're gonna spray it. And let's see if they've learned how to spray the champagne.
It's been 122 days since 12 sim racers got to experience the joys of the Atlanta Motorsports Park and a Radical SR1. Today, the journey to Prodigy Weeks Part 2 continues. Welcome along to the Prodigy Racing League Golden Ticket Series, powered by SuckerPunch Mazda MX-5 Cup. Our junior Kanky party alongside of Joey Tebbin as we get ready to get underway. Joey, it's been a wild start to 2024, and now we get to start the journey to return to the Atlanta Motorsports Park once again in the middle of May, but this time with 16 winners of Prodigy Passes from Season 1 Part 2.
Today, we get to give out the first one, and it's a little bit of a bread and butter combination for sim racing. Lots of drivers who start out in sim racing, they start in the Mazda MX-5 Cup car, low power, low weight, very nimble. Road America, it's a track everybody knows across the world. You go on any simulator, you're dealing with Road America. It is possibly the best possible place to start this series of tournaments and give out that first Prodigy Pass today.
Of course, it's been a while, so if you're just joining us in this Prodigy Racing League journey, what are we trying to do? Build a pipeline for E to Real, to give opportunities for those in sim racing to try and make it in the real world, not just to get a chance to drive a car, but to win a professional real-world contract to drive in the real Prodigy Racing League, hopefully to begin in 2024. That all, though, has to come after the Prodigy Draft. There's a long way to get to there. Let's talk to you about the format for this Golden Ticket Series on RaceRoom. 3 parts to this. This is the first of them. 6 total Prodigy Passes on the line, and not all of them going to come from on-track activity. Yes, 3 will be earned by winning each of the rounds. There'll be an additional Prodigy Pass handed out to the overall series points winner. A slight adjustment, of course, from Season 1, Part 1, where each event was its own self-encapsulated entity, if you will. And then, of course, the best part, in my opinion, Joey, the Prodigy Cert Selection Committee makes a return, and 2 more drivers will join the rest at the Atlanta Motorsports Park by making their case to the committee.
I love that because sometimes things go wrong in racing. Sometimes the fastest driver or a driver who's had an incredible comeback isn't the driver who necessarily wins the race. So I think that's a great thing to get some of those drivers who may have fallen by the wayside. And I'm also very excited to tell people that unlike Willie's chocolate experience, this golden ticket actually gets you somewhere. You won't end up in an abandoned warehouse in Glasgow. This is real.
Oh, the joys of AI. The important thing to note is, by the way, at the bottom of your screen, the winner of this round 1 Prodigy Pass will actually be the second Prodigy Pass winner in Season 1, Part 2. Because earlier this morning, I am delighted to be able to announce that Craig Tough Monkey Laws won the first Prodigy Pass in Season 1, Part 2 over on Street Kart Racing in their Golden Ticket Series. 45-year-old Brit was a top 3 finalist in one of our Prodigy Cert Selection Committees last year. Spent 5 months getting fit in the hopes to get to the Atlanta Motorsports Park. We still have 2 more events left in Street Kart Racing, so go on to the Apple App Store, download it right now. Yes, you can get to the Atlanta Motorsports Park by playing an iOS game, and in the case of Lawrence Beerton, let's not forget, by being a professional 737 pilot. So many people, though, support Racing Prodigy's mission of making motorsport accessible and creating the opportunities for deserving drivers around the world. Let's take the time to thank all of those that make this possible, starting with brand new for 2024 SuckerPunch, all natural pickle juice shooters for clean hydration, pickle chip pouches perfect for those long sim racing sessions or days at the track, and Jared Pickles with knockout flavor, the true champ of the chomp, now available in the US. Mazda Motorsport has partnered with Racing Prodigy to continue its mission of supporting race drivers, enriching lives, and developing the next prodigies. Mazda is supporting participants by providing $2,500 in coaching vouchers for the Racing Prodigy marketplace. Asetek SimSport wheelbases with their revolutionary quick release system allows you to easily switch wheels with just a click. SimLab P1X Pro Sim Racing cockpits with unparalleled rigidity, functionality, and design are your perfect sim racing base. And last but not least, owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing is the fastest growing North American sim racing chassis manufacturer and equipment retailer. There are so many prizes to talk about as well, courtesy of our partners, so we thank them so much for joining us. One thing that, as practice is coming to a close, drivers out on track right now, maybe we can cut back to us in our virtual commentary booth, because the fine folks over at SuckerPunch wanted to make sure that we had some pickles. Now, Joey, unfortunately, is getting slightly green screened off. He only bought the one bread and butter flavor. I went double fisting, and I've also got the 3 pepper spears. Joey, you're trying to open it up right now. Give it a taste. Is that what you're trying to do?
I'm trying my best, but this is, I don't have my, oh wait, no, I do have my little thing. I have a jar opener right here. It's in the shape of a jar. I can't talk and open it at the same time because I need 2 hands, but I tell you what, before these 15 seconds are up, I'm opening this pickle jar.
I'm very intrigued as to why you... Okay, I'm watching the jar opener in action. There we go. Joey, you gonna eat a pickle for us on screen? There we go.
Fantastic. I ate a whole mustard seed. I'm in the mood now. I'm energized. I'm powered up. Bread and butter. It's fantastic.
Available across the US. We had some of the SuckerPunch products actually available at Prodigy Week Part 1, and I saw a picture of Ciro Zambra quite enjoying one of the pickle chips after the karting session we had on day 1. Which one did you have again, Joey? You had the bread and butter.
I had the bread. I'm a bread and butter pickle fan, sweet and spiced. What do you have over there? You had the spicy one as well.
I also have, yes. Now, it is 6 o'clock in the morning. I woke up about 30 minutes ago, so I'm not particularly hungry.
No
So
breakfast
Joey's-
pickles?
No, not for me. Joey's the one with the sacrifice today. I will eat. You know what they do have? They have Bloody Mary mix,
Ooh,
Joey. Should
that's
we
for
break
the
that
morning.
out? Should we break that out for the search selection committee next time? That's what I'm
Yes.
thinking.
A Bloody Arjuna? How about that? Special
doesn't-
treat?
That doesn't sound so good. We didn't,
No,
by
it
the
doesn't.
way, get the Arjuna runs around the Atlanta Motorsports Park in Prodigy Week Part 1 because we were so busy. So that is still a dream. Just before we go on track, by the way, quick little note. All of our Prodigy Week participants, including the coaches as well, got this rather cool little Prodigy Week, whatever you want to call it. Joey, what's the name for these things?
A token? A coin?
Token?
A little pickle chip?
Little pickle chip. I thank Matt Fasanac for giving me mine. It's really cool, all the little details that Racing Prodigy is including to make sure that everyone feels included and remembers the experience. I already see a handful of the participants from Prodigy Week Part 1 in the chat. And here is the beautiful SuckerPunch Mazda MX-5 Cup car of Michael Romanidis as he works his way around in qualifying. Now, drivers get plenty of time, you would think, 10 minutes, but with the lap times here, over 2.5 minutes in time. Not many attempts they'll get in qualifying itself. And Romanidis, Joey, one of the drivers that joined us in Part 1 on a handful of occasions across of the simulators as well.
Yeah, he's a driver who loves to do everything in the world of sim racing, whether it's on any of those simulators, but didn't quite come good in any of them. He was so fast every single event he participated in, every single tournament. He was up in competition for the win, just didn't go his way though. He's coming back. He's going to be just as fast, just as consistent, and I think coming into this whole season of tournaments here, I think Romanidis is probably going to be the favorite. He's going to have a big target on his back to get one of those Prodigy passes at some point in the next couple weeks.
And that's the big change, right? The fact that, yes, this is an event where you can win a Prodigy Pass, but points are important as well because it's a season. There's incentive to build yourself up. And let's not forget, we're racing in this race room competition in the MX-5 Cup car on iRacing, still with the support of Mazda Motorsport, actually in the spec MX-5, so slightly different machine. As I mentioned, long lap times, Michael Romanidis a 2:32.8 and seemingly gets the opportunity then to reset back to the start of the lap and go again with fresh tires. His qualifying lap around a track this long though, half a second clear. Now that's a big margin, Joey, but 2 minutes 30, that's basically the same as around a 30-second lap time being separated by a tenth of a second.
Exactly, and there's plenty of time to make up those margins. It's a very, very long lap. There's plenty of places to make a mistake, and these are just the opening laps of qualifying. There's still plenty of time left out in the track, plenty of time for these drivers to adapt and adjust from their mistakes. A little bit of a bobble into turn 1 there for Elias Romstedt, just on the brakes, getting a little bit out of shape on the rear end in that pit-fit Mazda MX-5, but coming into turn 3 here, looks a little bit more comfortable, still a little bit jittery on the brakes, but that looked far smoother. See if he can pick up any lap time here and make up a little bit of those 3.3 seconds he needs to get closer to Romanidis.
Now, every driver last season had a distinct dedicated livery. This year, we've slightly mixed it up and actually have partner cars. So, you know, we have the SuckerPunch car of Romanidis, the pit fit car that we see on the left side, and then the SimLab car of Nikodem Wisniewski that we see on the right side of the screen. So really love that we get this opportunity to just shout out those that make this all possible, as well as being able to just, at least for the commentators, pick out the cars a little bit easier. Look at that rise up the hill, though, as Nikodem Wisniewski rises to the line. Now, where's that going to put him in the qualifying order? We would expect him to be up towards the front, and goodness, he's gone straight to the top.
Literally pole-ish. How about that for a fantastic lap early on? Still 5 minutes to go, though. Still plenty of time for every one of these drivers to pick up some more time. Elias Romstedt, we were following him a little bit earlier. He's made his way all the way to the carousel. Only a few more corners to go. Once you're out of the carousel, under the Continental Tire Bridge here in Race Room, you're going to be full throttle through the kink. Don't have to worry about that whatsoever. It's barely a corner in one of these little beans of a car. But then you're going to be into Canada corner in just a few moments. Full braking, heavy braking, and the last place where you can really gain a ton of time in this lap.
See as well on the lower third, the qualifying segments, this not challenging for pole by any means. It was 99 thousandths between the top two, and then of course the half a second back. So maybe the draft's going to keep them close at the very least in this first semi-final, seemingly as though we're going to focus on the top two in terms of where they are going to place. Remember, the finishing position in this race determines starting position in the final coming up later. You finish first, you're on the first row, second row, etc., etc. Which side of the row you're on, that depends on your fastest lap compared to the driver on the same row. So there is lots to actually think about in terms of mathematics and stuff, which is always a terrifying proposition when the commentators have to get involved. Here comes Romanitas to the line, had purple middle sector, it would seem, and bam, straight back up to the top, and now 67 thousandths. Let's see if Nikodem Wisniewski is going to be able to respond.
See if Radoslav Orbtal is able to respond, or Obertal, I should say. Coming to the line now. Only 0.6 off Romanitas on that first attempt of his. Second lap across the line. Is he going to find any time? Looks like the answer is unfortunately no for him for now, but he will get one more shot with 3 minutes 20 left on the clock.
And as we just watch through the carousel, the tight line being taken, let's not forget that Nikodem announced this past week, or was it the last week? It feels like time flies in the world of sim racing. But 5 years he spent as part of the Williams esports team has now come to a close, has not announced where his new team is going to be, but left with Kuba Brzezinski, and you would assume that the two Poles are going to do something quick. So purple sector 1 and then slightly off in sector 2, but we're talking thousandths here. It's the difference of being maybe 2 meters later on the brakes and keeping tidy, keeping calm. And as they work through Canada corner, Joey, this still looks relatively tight. He just has to now get out of the final corner well.
It's literally going to come down to that run to the line. That's what we love to see in qualifying. We love to see it come down to absolute milliseconds through the final corner. Looks pretty good. A little bit of a hop over the curb. That shows full commitment for Wisniewski here. And then the run up to the line using every single one of those 184 horsepower to climb up that hill like a funicular and across the line. What's it going to be for Wisniewski? Is he going to beat Romanitas and knock off the top dog? Not quite. Needed 11 more thousandths on that lap.
And again, those are the margins that those two are split by. There's a bigger gap behind. We'll have to wait and see if Draft will play its part. Don't think that he has enough time to go again, by the way. So as we check out third place, Martin Barna in the MPI Mazda MX-5. There is short time in the session remaining. It was about a 10th off in the first sector. We'll see what he can do through that middle sector. Mazda Motorsports, of course, partnered up with Racing Prodigy for this Season 1 Part 2, but we actually had a handful of the Mazda family at Prodigy Week Part 1 helping us out alongside the likes of Max Papis. But for those that watched all the action at Daytona in the Mazda MX-5 Cup Series, Weston Workman, who was all the rage up towards the front, he was there and helping behind the scenes. Connor Zilic, who of course took the world by storm, winning in the LMP2 class, part of the Mazda family in the past. He was there coaching, replacing Max Papis. I think that goes to show just how highly some in the world of motorsports think about him. That middle sector, Joey, half a second off. That's clearly where Romanitas and Wisniewski making up the time in that middle sector.
I think a big part of that is definitely just a lot of it is experience. A lot of it is definitely practice, though. In this car, you need to find the rhythm, and through the middle sector, through the final sector, there's a lot of those rhythm corners. There are 2 heavy braking zones on this track, but everywhere else, you've got to keep the rhythm. This could be a little bit close for third, though, as Martin Barna brings it to the line. He only needs 1/10 to hop up a couple spots. Unfortunately, it's it is a Barna burner for him. At the last second there, did get up to third, and he'll get third by a 0.003.
And so these race results are going to flow on past, or qualifying results, I should say. So just keep a look, find where your favorite driver is. Romanitas at the front, of course, Wisniewski second, Barna third, Cravey then down in fourth, Heidegger fifth, Orbital, Cesare, Uduai, Solnil, and then Hakkinen, the rest of your top 10. And only 8/10 between them as we start to go down through the rest of the list. Ivan Fornes, Kamto, Chukwura, Frieder Bralin, Sven de Vries, Daniel Rezkowski, Oliver Brent, Elias Romstead, Cy Prithvi, I think that's Alessandro Vilma, Marco Almeida, Max Mueller, and Carlos Ocono, the 22 drivers who qualified and now thrown into a brief warm-up session before they get to go racing. 20 minutes can be thrown on the clock. We've got 2-minute 30 laps. So let's be real, Joey. There's not many laps to work. If you didn't qualify well and you're trying to work your way into the top 12 to advance to the final, get yourself forward quickly.
The thing about Road America is it's so long that it almost is like 2 laps in one. You've got the first half of the lap, which is a lot of straight lines, a lot of heavy braking zones. Then you have the second half of the lap, which is more of a handling course, high speed corners like the carousel and the kink and those final couple of corners in the final sector. So if you're going to be looking to be moving forward, you're going to be trying to make your moves in that first sector. You're going to be trying to stick with your fellow drivers in the second sector. It's the best racetrack in the world, in my opinion, in terms of passing. So there's going to be lots of opportunities. And if you are a little bit lower than you would have liked, I think you're going to be happy with your opportunities in this place at least.
That's for sure. I mean, we couldn't have picked a better place to get started. Round 2 in this Mazda MX-5 Cup Golden Ticket Series on RaceRoom, sponsored and powered by SuckerPunch, is actually going to begin in just a few hours' time at Brands Hatch with the Grand Prix layout. So don't forget to go to racingprodigy.com. Get your Racing Prodigy membership today. The RaceRoom Game Pass gets you access to every PRL event on RaceRoom for the next 12 months at only $14.99. Your chance to jump in. And there's not just the Prodigy Pass, as I mentioned, in terms of pricing. Top 25% in the series eligible to win a SimLab P1X Pro Sim Racing Cockpit, 25 $50 gift cards for the Racing Prodigy Coaching Marketplace, as well as 3 Advanced Sim Racing $100 gift cards and 3 $50 Advanced Motorsports Coaching gift cards. So plenty still for those up towards the front as they look to try and continue to develop on their own personal journeys to becoming racing prodigies. There's 1 and 2 in qualifying, 2 top-level esports drivers. And look behind Joey, Nikodem Wisniewski, you've actually got the name tag from ESLR1. One of the coolest things about any LAN event is seeing your name printed on something and then taking it home.
And that may be cool for him. I'm sure he's very happy to bring that out of the event, but it's very good for us because we can see his name. We don't even need to know what his face looks like. We can see any guy there. We see his name, and that's exactly what a commentator needs. But Michael Romanidis was on the left there. We know what his face looks like, at least. We don't need his name.
Is Michael Romanidis one of the people that has a mirror behind him, by the way?
He has a piano behind him, or a keyboard at least.
Okay, so he's got to play us.
He had a mirror last time, but he's since closed off the mirror and he's become a musical maestro. And if he wins this race, he better play us a tune over there.
Yeah, he needs to play us the. We need to write a
royalty-free tune, I should say.
He needs to write us a theme song for the Prodigy Racing League. He could play it for us at the start of every show.
If he does that, he gets a Prodigy Pass, guaranteed.
He did have, by the way, a mirror still behind him, not distracting at all. So, drivers ready for a standing start, lights coming up, and already focus intensity rising here at the start of Season 1, Part 2. The journey to Prodigy Week 2 begins. It's the Prodigy Racing League Mazda MX-5 Golden Ticket Series on RaceRoom that's underway. It's going to be a draft down into Turn 1, and because it's so long, because it's a standing start, because we haven't had the rise up towards the line, I don't think we're going to get much side-by-side at the front. It's going to then be down into Turn 5. Yes, Turn 5. The next time we're really heavily onto the brakes, that things will get chopped up and the action will rise. As expected, single file down in through the slight kink at Turn 2, onto the brakes through 3. Crucial corner, Joey, to bring your momentum forward into that next heavy dive.
And Martin Barnett did a good job of not running side by side there for P3, so they're able to stay one by one in the top 5, extending a little bit over Hakkinen in 6th place. Are we going to see the first move into Turn 5 this time, though? Does Wisniewski say, I'm going for it instantly, or does he decide to wait back a little bit and hang back and wait for another lap? He does wait for another opportunity. He probably could have gone for a move in Turn 5, like you just see for P3 behind, or P4 behind.
So that's Martin Barner holding on to 4th. You can see not much chopping and changing as up under the bridge at Turn 6 will come. Looks like one driver at the back slowing down and losing a little bit of time. That's Araskowski in the 23rd position. So outside of that, 22 drivers still focus on that top 12 and trying to hold on to the positions where they are. Not seeing the top 2 break away. Now, let's not forget, what was it, half a second or so in the qualifying session. Keep an eye on that as drama down the back. That's a chaos and timing tower going alight.
Yeah, bad news for fans of Ivan Fornes. He had a big contingent in the chat rooting for the only Spanish guy in the race, but unfortunately he's gone to the back of the field. He's going to have to hope to recover here. David Nemchek in the middle of the field. He's in kind of an interesting position. He is in the last spot outside of the top 12. He's up 10 spots from the start, though. He's been on the move.
And that's, you see the margin in front. He's got to keep an eye on the two that are battling so they don't break away. Side by side for 5th. Could be side by side for 11th and 12th as well. But as they rub doors, argy-bargy in towards Bill Mitchell Bend, it's all going to work out for the time being. We'll bring those behind just a little bit more into the fight as Nemchek's gone around. I think Almeida got tagged up as well.
There's a little bit of a commentator's curse there. Just as Nemchek was doing such a good job, he instantly gets sucker punched back to the field, unfortunately.
And so as they rise to the line, you see just how much of a climb it is as well. That margin between 2nd and 3rd already up to 1.6. That draft has been closed, and that's why no challenge on the opening lap. It might not come, to be honest, until the final couple of laps. It might not come at all, Joey. Let's be real. This is the semi-final. There's nothing on the line except a spot in the top 12.
But what about a little bit of glory? I think there is definitely going to be a fight for the win. I don't think Wisniewski is going to be the kind of driver who hangs back and just settles for 2nd. I think once him and Romanidis realize they have enough of a margin back to 3rd, which honestly might be about 10 minutes from now, I think then they'll decide to go, they'll go elbows out. They'll decide to fight. But right now, they are still a little bit too close to Martin Barna. Only about 2 seconds of gap separate them from 3rd place. They're going to want to extend that a little bit more before they start to go full fighting mode, because they're going to lose seconds upon seconds per lap once they start doing that.
And don't forget, if you're not watching on the Racing Prodigy YouTube channel, do make sure you go and join that, because that's where all the action's going to be in terms of Prodigy Week, as well as our search selection committees. They're going wild for 3rd position. Heidegger's trying to continue to work his way on forward, and I tell you what, he might have it around the outside. It'll be into the hurry downs where he'll rise his way forward into 3rd spot. Finally has that position locked down, Hakkinen up the inside and trying to get forward to 4th. This is great fighting. This is what you expect in the MX-5 Cup cars, and the defensive block from Hakkinen is going to allow him to hold the line, hold the momentum, and the brief hip check gives him the opportunity in through the carousel to make that position his. Barna may now have another chance to work up the inside into the top 5.
That was Finn versus Finn warfare with Hakkinen versus Cravey. That block actually checked up Cravey enough to give Barna the inside there, and that might lose them this draft. You can be side by side through the kink full throttle, but it is going to lose you a little bit of time. Well done to both drivers for surviving that through there, but that gets very, very dicey, and they're still trying to fight this. Barna does have to slot in line, doesn't get the momentum through the kink like he wants, but if we know him, he might go for a dive here into Canada corner. No, he thinks better of it, thinks, I don't want to lose touch with this train, and he'll wait for another opportunity to get back by Cravey and back into the top 5.
And realistically, the train going back to 14th now, there's still a lot to think about in terms of top 12 and who might still advance. Pretty much guaranteed these two will. How much will they fight? 15 minutes left on the clock. Get the sneaking suspicion that realistically they just want to get to the final, and then they will fight a little bit more. We do have race control. Don't want to end up in their bad books this early on in the event. So as 2 drivers on screen continue work through, see the lack of emotion on their face. You best believe if we get to the end of this the final and there's no emotion, it's probably because an esports racer won. Joe, we had plenty of emotion from our Prodigy Pass winners in part 1 last year.
Yeah, it's an interesting part of being a high-level esports athlete, because you're kind of used to success. You're used to that kind of emotion. So maybe we don't see the same amount of emotion we will with other drivers. But here's Chuck Wura losing out 1 spot. He falls out of the top 10. Still okay to lose that 1 spot to Udowie, but just as he does that, Udowie's a little bit all over the place and may open the door for Chuck Wura to go for another move to get back into the top 10 into turn 5.
There's a couple of drivers behind they'll be wanting just to keep an eye on. You see the margin between 12th and 13th holding at about a second or so. If they go 3 wide, it might be an issue. Drive-through penalty for Udowie, so that's actually going to promote these drivers who are battling for 11th and 12th forward a position, and that's what I mentioned about the live race control. Surprised that going so defensive after you've been told that you're going to have to come down pit lane. Chuck Wura forced to the outside where you can hold your car, just runs out of time, longer distance around the track, and that's the first driver that's found out the wrath of the race control in 2024. Probably not the last by any means, Joey, especially in these Mazdas.
Yeah, if you ever watched one of these races in real life in the Global MX-5 Cup, they get a little bit crazy. They like to bang the bumpers off of them, especially at Daytona and Sebring, where they're all in a pack, and Road America too, for that matter. this is how MX5 racing tends to go. But this is good news for Braun in P13 because he's actually going to be the next beneficiary into the top 12 once Udowie gets penalized, and he's got 2 seconds ahead of Leedstra a little bit further back, and that is a comfortable margin, at least for the moment, for him.
So, into Canada corner. Oh, this is just costing them even more time. They're fighting for third as well, but this is where you really have to keep your focus, right? Because top 12 is what matters. Those that work forward. Chukwueze are going to now just try and hold on to the line that he's got. Going to probably see Udowie off to driver's right-hand side as they head out of the final corner to serve that drive-through penalty. Might not be forced to do it this lap, though, and that might frustrate those behind. Chukwueze leans on one of his fellow competitors as they work out of the final corner and not coming down to serve that penalty first time of asking. Now, draft's going to be a factor, maybe bump drafting as well on the run to turn 1.
I think what Udowie's trying to do here is he is going to serve the penalty, I would imagine, but he's just trying to extend a gap here. If he can lead the drivers behind him into getting into a little bit of trouble with each other, that opens the opportunity for him to have a couple more positions once he pits. But Chukwueze isn't going to let him do that. He dives it into turn 1. It's not a heavy braking zone into turn 1. That tends to happen through there when you send a dive, but excellent job by both of those drivers to save that and keep it going straight.
And so working on forward, slides on through. So as Frida Braun sits in 11th, you can see behind that Chukwueze is now still in the thick of the fighting and not far removed from these drivers that we watch on your screen. Ivan Fornes recovering after his own little spin. All turn 5 is going to be the site of plenty of battle right now, isn't it? We're not even halfway through this race, and drivers trying to make sure they're in position at the right time. Fornes going to dive it on through. Going to give no track position to the car that was on the outside, but that's all right. 11 minutes left on the clock. This is the thing about not having many laps, Joey. At a track like Road America, doesn't mean there's lack of passing opportunities.
And I'm no linguist, Arjuna, but forno in Italian means baked in an oven, so I wonder if fornes in Spanish means the same thing, and maybe that means he's used to being sent into the gauntlets of fire and being baked in an oven of pressure.
At the front of the field, still no emotion, no battling as we close in on half race distance to open up Season 1, Part 2 of the Prodigy Racing League. Again, we mentioned Michael Romanidis has been here quite a while. I don't remember seeing much, to be honest, of Nikodem Wisniewski, so going to be interesting to see how he will get on moving forward, but there's not just change, of course, from 2023. Not just the winner of this event that will get the Prodigy Pass. The overall series points winner after 3 rounds will win a Prodigy Pass as well. And so both of these drivers, do you think, quite well positioned to find opportunities to join us at Atlanta. And Joey, I think that is going to slightly tweak the mindset in the final. Is it worth risking it to go for the win if second place gives you the points to feel solid and stable and know that first probably isn't going to be racing moving forward?
The great battle of do you want instant gratification or do you want to wait for it? Do you want to win your way in instantly, or do you want to take the risk of waiting 3 weeks and 3 events for qualifying and getting enough points? I think most of these drivers are probably going to want to go for the win instantly just to get themselves that comfort. They don't have to continue fighting, they don't have to continue suffering, and they can retire on their laurels and move in with 1 win and not have to worry about anything else.
Yep. Back to all of the fighting. Udowie still staying out there as you've got Braun now just trying to hold off a freight train behind. Going to get pushed to make the move into turn 3. Commits, but maybe not as much as he needed to. Leaning off of the corner, and that's going to be Chukwueze. That's almost off. He got self-corrected there, I tell you, by one of his fellow competitors. It's been an eventful day for him, to say the very least.
And that's going to promote Sven de Vries into P12, and once Udowie serves that penalty, that's going to give Ivan Fornes P12. He's going to be up into the top dozen, but he's got a little bit of work to do to be able to do that.
I can look at that send down the inside. That's the look of focus that we often expect from drivers, knowing what is on the line. Top 12, remember, advance to the final. That's what is really important in the first semi-final of the event. Of the round, I should say. We've got semi-final 2 coming up next, and another qualifying session, of course, to look forward to for them. I mentioned it slightly earlier, but Joey, race lap times do matter. Finishing position here determines which row you start on in the final. Which side of the row? Would you be on the inside, on the outside? That's determined by the race lap compared to the driver on the same row as you. It's not confusing at all.
No, it's the old Prodigy zipper. We've had it for every event, or almost every event so far, and I think that's a perfect merchandise opportunity. Sometime this year, we got to break out the real Prodigy zipper in honor of the qualifying format.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. The Prodigy Racing League zipper. Apparently the coin that we talked about, by the way, pre-race, is called a challenge coin, to give it its full and proper title. So challenge coins coming again, I hope, for Prodigy Week's part 2, even though it's basically going to be just the same, just with new dates, because we're going back to the Atlanta Motorsports Park.
Well, Arjuna, I'm challenged to not be jealous of that coin, because I know that in 50 years, when people know you've got a first edition Prodigy Racing League challenge coin, that's going to be going for billions.
Can't wait till we get back out there for the Atlanta Motorsports Park experience. Really extremely interesting track, as finally we see Udawai serving the drive-through penalty. 7 minutes left on the clock. It's going to release a handful of drivers, you'd assume, to go out there and fight. Relatively slow pit lane speed limit as well here, and that's him down to the back, unfortunately. So, who's now sitting in the hot seat? It is it Sven de Vries? It is indeed. He's got a bit of a gap behind him. We check out once again the fight for third on back, and, well, drivers that have been going at it hammer and tongs, and one driver almost pushing out a little bit wide. I believe that was Martin Barna.
Love to see the Finn versus Finn battle here. Hakkinen versus Cravey. They've got to try and work together, actually, here, because Romanides and Wisniewski have well and truly taken control of this race. 6 seconds in the lead. So if they want any chance of catching those two guys once they start fighting, I think they might need to stick together here and stay single file, not to lose even more time. On the other hand, they may be thinking, well, there's only 6 minutes to go. There's 5 seconds of gap. We might as well throw everything at each other and keep fighting here, because first and second are probably off the table.
So out through the hurry downs, Camto Chukwueze left the scene of an incident. Couldn't quite figure out who the other two cars that were involved, but from the timing screen, would indicate David Nemchek was one of them, and Max Mueller would have been the other. You can see on Chukwueze's face, I think that he's recognized that all these incidents, Joey, have taken him out of contention for a top 12.
Yeah, but he was legitimately in the top 12 at one point. He almost just got knocked out of the top 20 with a potential dive there for P15. But I think we'll see him back for the next two events here on RaceRoom at Brands Hatch in Mid-Ohio. He knows he can be fast, and even though it might not go his way this week, he's going to be able to come back with a little bit more confidence and definitely keep that fight going.
Here we go into Canada corner. Action starting to heat up at the front, and I think these drivers know as well that if they want any chance in the final, they need to be as close to the fastest drivers as possible, and that's why they're fighting so hard for the grid position in the final. Hakkinen on the outside as they rise towards the inside, rather, with Crazy on the outside trying to make his way on forward through the final corner. You've got one white Aztec Sim Sport car, one black Aztec Sim Sport car, both of them Finns on board with Hakkinen with the ultra-wide monitor, jinking back and forth. 4.5 minutes left on the clock. Joey, I think that means we've got 3 laps still left to go.
Not a single piece of furniture on those walls. This is a guy who is totally committed to sim racing. I think he probably built this sim room, put his computer in it, and did nothing else with it, because this is all he cares about. And he's doing an excellent job of pushing his fellow Finn up into third. Didn't do quite such an excellent job of getting himself up into fourth, but he's going to wait until turn 2 and turn 3 to do that. Switches to the inside of Heidegger. See if he can be later on the brakes into turn 3 here. Not quite. The door gets shut.
Saw the recognition that he wasn't going to be able to make it happen. He faded back into line just to try and get a better run out and off of the corner. Quickly adjust the headset as they run down to the heavy braking zone that runs ahead. I believe that's an Atlanta Motorsports Park car that runs in front for Leonard Heidegger. And so as he tries to now cut back to the inside, it's going to give Hakkinen the chance to bleed driver's right-hand side. It's a great, intriguing action just watching the racecraft being displayed. Heidegger's now got a chance to fight back forward to third. Is Cravey going to give him the chance to send it? He really leans on the Finn on the outside as they work out of turn 6. There's a look at Heidegger, who's got an interesting perspective of A, the sauna, but B, we can see his hands at work as well on the shifters, just moment's notice ready to shift in what is now a sequential car. Let's not forget. I mean, this is just cars leaning on top of one another. I hope, Joey, we get this in the final up towards the front.
I think we definitely will. In an MX-5 Cup car, this is the kind of racing you see at every single track in the world. But look at Martin Barna. We haven't talked much about him in the last 10 minutes or so, but he's finally back getting aggressive and making moves. He's going to peek to the inside of Heidegger into the kink. He's not going to quite get there, though, but he's definitely going to be in this fight as well, and Soholm as well in 7th. He's just been hunting. He's been looking at everything going on, and he might be able to pounce here with 2 laps to go at the line.
Yeah, that was almost contact there between Barna and Sonal as they worked off of the kink. Sonal's now on the outside. Is he going to be able to roll through? No, Barna holds on. I think your race leader's coming to the line, so it actually should be 1 lap to go. I was slightly off in my mathematics. Here they go indeed, rising up to see the what will be white flag in the air. 2 and a bit minutes still left on the clock. If there's going to be a fight, it's going to come now, and Romanidis goes to the wall. He blocks any potential jink to the inside as they run off towards turn number 1. Now, how aggressive, how brave is Nikodem Wisniewski feeling? He'll show his way. He'll try. He's not going to commit. He knows 1 and 2. Doesn't really matter which one he finishes, Joey.
No, he's doing a little bit of math right now, because if he goes for the move into turn 5, that's going to allow Romanidis the chance to get by him in turn 8 and potentially Canada Corner. If he waits until turn 8, that might give Romanidis the chance to get by him in Canada Corner. If he waits until Canada Corner, that might not give Romanidis a chance to get by him. So I think we're going to see him wait until that final heavy braking zone. Or he might decide that's a little bit too risky. He might want to get the position on track when he can get his first opportunity and just continue fighting from there. I don't see any kind of peek to the inside just yet. Now he goes for it in turn 5, but he slots back in line again. Still thinks it's too early.
Yeah, Coanda, of course, just a quick shout out to them because Ian Chen Guven, who often represents them in various sim racing competitions, has just won the 12 Hours of Bathurst in the real world part of Manti EMA. And so Michael Romanidis wanting to make that step from virtual to reality, from E to real with the Prodigy Racing League. And alongside some of his teammates continue to show just what sim racing can do. That was another half-hearted look, but let's be real. These are just shows of the nose. There's nothing really going in any of these little looks. 40 seconds left on the clock. Battle for the top 12. Really not much to talk about, Joey. Ivan Fornes, Sven de Vries, 11th and 12th positions. All they have to do is avoid hitting each other, and they're in the final.
Yes, they're all fairly comfortable here, but this is not comfortable whatsoever. Michael Romanidis may have that piano behind him, but I think Wisniewski right now is trying to hit it with a little bit of a crescendo here. He's going to end this piece in the most aggressive possible way. If he can get to the inside, he's fully in the draft, and he does finally peek legitimately to the inside. He's waited until the last moment to go for it.
He'll try, but Romanidis versus Wisniewski just for a spot in the final. Let's not forget the Prodigy Pass on the line in the final that lies in store as they rub doors through Bill Mitchell Bend. Romanidis on the inside in the SuckerPunch car. The SimLab machine of Nikodem Wisniewski going to try now, slingshot it through the inside, out towards the line. There's got the rise still left to come. Romanidis half a car lengths back. He'll try a bit of a side draft. What's going to work? Photo finish at the line. Typical Mazda MX-5 action. But in this final of the PRL Mazda MX-5 Cup Golden Ticket Series, at the line by millimeters, Nikodem Wisniewski does enough to start on the front row. Michael Romanidis settles for second.
Now, are we sure Daniel Suarez didn't actually win that race? Are we sure?
I mean, I don't even know what the final margin of victory ended up being. We'll see if we can get confirmation at some point. I don't even know if Nikodem knows exactly what happened.
I think he knows exactly what he did. He was doing that Nikodem Wisniewski math in his mind, saying, if I go for that move too early, Romanidis is going to fight me back, but if you wait until the final heavy braking zone of the track, there's almost nothing he can do to fight back other than keep it side by side through that whole final sector, and that worked out perfectly.
Looking forward to being able to run you down through the top 12 who will move forward to the final. We've got a second semi-final to come. Here we go, in fact. 86,000, goodness. So it is going to be the top 12 that advance. So realistically, yes, these are the formation that they'll line up in come the final. But realistically, top 12, you've left yourself with a chance of coming out on top. Wisniewski from Romanidis, and then a big margin back to Hakkinen after only 20 minutes of racing. Yes, I know third on back were brawling, but for Heidegger, for Barner, Sonal, Cravey, they will recognize they cannot afford to do that if they want to try and get out to the front. Sari down in 8th, Orbital down in 9th, and then Braun rounds out your top 10. Fornes and De Vries going to breathe a sigh of relief, just about making their way in. And then, unfortunately, a handful of drivers will also have to be said goodbye to. Joey, that was one race of 3 today done at Road America, and if it was any indication, we can have some great racing as long as the stakes are sufficiently high.
We will absolutely have great racing. Low-powered cars, long straights, heavy braking zones. I mean, I'm looking forward to the next couple events, whether it's on RaceRoom or on other sims, whether it's at Brands Hatch or Mid-Ohio, but I think we should just do 12 rounds at Road America potentially. Let's just do a whole Road America series, because it'll be exciting every time.
I know you love your America's National Park of Speed. I've got to ask you now, we're one race in, how is your Sucker Punch pickle treating you?
Well, I think you've been looking at my camera, Arjuna. When you've given me a couple moments to be quiet, I think I've been snacking. I haven't eaten breakfast today. I'm picking out another pickle as we speak and trying not to get vinegar on my keyboard. I'm still enjoying them. This is a pickle breakfast.
Yeah,
Arjuna still hasn't opened his yet.
I've still got the double fist of
What are you
Sucker
scared
Punch
of?
pickles.
A little bit of heartburn, a little bit of acid reflux during the broadcast. That's nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about, especially when I got the Porsche Esports Super Cup mid-season tournament to come after this. And I only bring that up because I would encourage Racing Prodigy fans to go and watch that. After this, it will only begin about 40 minutes or so after the finals complete. You can go and cheer Gustavo Ariel, the winner of the very first Prodigy Pass, as well as the winner of whatever we're calling it, the Prodigy Racing Prodigy Week shootout on the final day of Prodigy Week. So go and cheer him on. He's part of the Team Redline contingent, of course, supported by Max Verstappen. So it should be a lot of fun. Second semi-final, though, Joey, qualifying. How important is it going to be based on what we saw from semi-final 1?
Well, qualifying was very important in the case of being directly up front. Those top 2 ran away from the rest of the field. There was no competition. But qualifying wasn't important for some of those drivers at the back. Yvonne Fornes, for example, qualified many, many spots lower than the 11th place where he finished. If you can survive the chaos and the drama of the opening laps, you're definitely going to be in conversation for advancing into the top 12, even if you start at the back. But you do definitely want to start a little bit further forward. Get yourself further forward in the grid tomorrow.
If you're wondering what Prodigy Week is about, by the way, 3 full days of coverage that you can go back and watch on the Racing Prodigy channels. But just to give you an insight, it's about testing drivers mentally, physically, as well as, of course, behind the wheel to see if they have what it takes to become professional racing drivers. And what we saw, day 1, started with the fitness. Then they went out, did a bit of autocross, skid pan work, and then karting to close out the day. Day 2, they got to try the Radical SR1 for the very first time, slowly built themselves up, started following a BMW, then the BMW pulled off to the to the pit lane. Drivers got to then build up the speed progressively, and slowly but surely built up confidence as well. Joey, the remarkable thing was, across 2 full days of running, second day being rather cold in the morning as well, below freezing, only 2 small spins. For drivers that were pushing the limits of Radical SR1s, proper race cars, they did really, really well.
They did, and we only shouted out one of those spins in the promotional video at the start of this, so that second spin gets to be forgotten by history. But it's so tough to translate control of a simulated vehicle to a real vehicle, because you're not actually feeling the G-forces and the physics of a real car when you're in a sim race. You might be feeling a little bit of motion, you might have a little bit of butt kicking, a little bit of shaking, a little bit of noise, but you're not feeling G-forces, and that's very tough to adapt to when you make that transition, and all 12 of them did a very good job.
Yeah, and there are too many people that made all of it possible to thank. So I just want to make that crystal clear. From our broadcast team, Brian Till, Jen Moxley joining us, as well as our entire Selly production team and everyone else at the track that made it possible. Primal Racing, preparing all of the cars, making sure they were ready to go, dialing them in. Weston Workman, like I mentioned, part of the crew, one of the Mazda MX-5 drivers in the real world, has got the scholarship, of course, to go racing. And then the coaches. We had the likes of Max Pappas, Boris Said, Kenton Cook. I mentioned Connor Zilic, Randy Popes. Who am I forgetting? Probably more great names. And every time I talked to one of the prodigies, Joey, they just talked about how much knowledge they were being able to draw from their coaches.
And I mean, I'm starting to grow a similar amount of hair to Boris Said, so I'm going to feel a connection to him always. But those are just incredible people to learn from. The list of names, whether it's Boris Said, for example, who has literal decades of experience, or it's Connor Zilic, who's still 17 years old. He's still got to wait to make his NASCAR starts because he's not 18 yet, but he still has a wealth of experience in real life racing. And both aspects are very adaptable and very useful when you haven't driven a real car yet, and you may have the skills to do so. They just need to be molded and adapted a little bit, and you need some help to do that.
I knew I forgot one, Jesse Iwuji. I was racking my brain. I was thinking I've forgotten one. I feel so sorry. It was great to meet Jesse and have him join us as well. Connor Zilic, by the way, can you imagine being an 18-year-old kid rolling into your high school class the day after the Daytona 24 with your Rolex on your wrist?
Well, he posted he went to the mall to get it certified or aligned or whatever you do with the watch. You can see I don't have a watch, so I don't know what you do. But they thought, well, look at you. They thought it was fake. But he was like, I'll show you the replay. I did win. I'll open up Peacock and show you the finish of the race.
Well, he was resizing it. So, a lot of the watches that have metal bands, Joey, you take out some of the bands. If you've got a smaller wrist, you put more in. If you have a bigger wrist, watches, fantastic stuff.
Bragging about his bands, as always.
No, I'm not fancy enough. I've just got a leather strap, you see. If I can adjust it myself, I'm not fancy enough to go to a store. Okay. Anyway, one semi-final in the books. We're getting ready to go for semi-final number 2. Don't go anywhere here for Racing Prodigy action in the Mazda MX-5 Golden Ticket Series on RaceRoom, sponsored by SuckerPunch.
Should we go to this meeting?
Yeah. Let me just get a snack first.
Snack? I brought a snack.
Oh, that's okay. I'm good.
No. I got this. Told you I brought a snack.
There's a better way to eat pickles on the go. SuckerPunch, the snack with a snap.
When you look at the number of participants who had a shot at this, who wanted to be one of 12 of 60-something thousand, I mean, that's impressive in and of itself. What a diverse group of drivers, what a diverse group of participants. Just really cool. They should all be very, very proud.
players around 4 platforms. I mean, I'm lucky to be here.
We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the sky. We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the sky. Hickory, dog, giving them to determine. Right in the storm of focus on rainbow connections like Kermit. The water on my shoulders, it was a burden. Now I don't notice it, everything turning. Everything shifting, doing it different. I'm floating, I'm drifting. Shout out the slums, round the world we uplifted. Doing it big. We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. We about to change the game. We out here.
Every one of them deserves to be there, celebrating the fact that they were here and a part of this very first ever Prodigy Week for Racing Prodigy, and what a 3 days it was.
And here we go. They're going to spray it. Now let's see if they've learned how to spray the champagne.
Prodigy Racing League Mazda MX-5 Cup Golden Ticket Series on RaceRoom, powered by SuckerPunch. Our junior Kanky Party, Joey Tebben, making sure I go the right way with my hands. Always got to make sure you catch that. SuckerPunch Pickles, of course, in the commentary booth, powering Joey Tebben. Still too early in the morning for me to dig into some pickles, unfortunately. But, Joey, we're still ready, getting ready for semi-final number 2. Have to get qualifying done and dusted, of course, for that as well. We mentioned that, maybe it's important, maybe it's not. I think what we are still trying to figure out, to get to grips with here in the Prodigy Racing League Season 1 Part 2, is how the structure of a, series encompassing multiple rounds is really going to play, because that's something very different to what we saw last year.
Theoretically, we have 3 events in this series. You could have one driver win race 1, one driver win race 2, one driver win race 3. But if the same driver finishes second across all 3 of those races, they might end up winning the 3-race total point affair championship and get a Prodigy Pass as well. So that opens the possibility for 4 different drivers in 3 races to get passes, and consistency does get rewarded in addition to plain old raw speed.
What I've just forgotten, by the way, is Street Kart Racing. Do I still have it downloaded on my phone?
This is embarrassing. I never downloaded it. I've had months. I've had months to do this, and I haven't downloaded it.
Can you see how disappointed I am right now, Joey?
Well, I like the people watching at home. This is a little bit like a modern Thanksgiving dinner, because both of us are just staring at our phones and not looking at the screen.
To be fair, I mean, I don't blame the viewers for not wanting to look at our faces and to
They're
want to watch.
They're probably looking at their phones too. It's just
they want to watch Mazda.
It's like we're all on the bus together. It's okay.
They want to watch Mazda MX-5s at the end of the day. But yeah, Street Kart Racing, again, we had such a great support from Street Kart Racing's community in Prodigy Week Part 1. They were in our YouTube chat basically the entire time, cheering a lot of their community on that were there competing. Andrea Leonardi alongside Lauren Beerton, the 2 drivers that won from the Iowa. There we go. Joey Tebben is... Get it, Joey. Press the button. Press the blue button.
You won't see my credit card details. Can I Face ID with this VMix call we're on right now? I hope so. Come on, do it. That's me.
Oh, did it work?
Oh, I was clicking the wrong button. It's the power button.
Joey.
Come on.
Well, while you continue to struggle,
put my phone down there. Oh, it didn't work. Darn.
While you continue to struggle, here we go. Look at me. Street Kart Racing up and running. I'm no Lawrence Beerton, unfortunately. I'm not a 737 pilot. I'm also not very good at this. But we, again, want to just shout out Tough Monkey, who has won the first Prodigy Pass in Season 1 Part 2 on Street Kart Racing. This happened just a few hours ago as well. So it's hot off the presses. Delighted to be able to welcome Craig to Atlanta later on this year. It should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing who else is going to move on forward, because, Joey, if I just refer down to my notes, when it comes to Street Kart Racing, there's a really intriguing format. So Event 1, which is just wrapped up, there was an outright winner. Event 2 is also going to have an outright winner, but the 3rd and final event is going to have a last chance final, top 50, and then after that, the top 50 overall and top 50 female drivers will get to submit for a Prodigy Search Committee selection show. 2 passes on the line as well. So it's really great that we're recognizing that even if you don't have a sim rig behind you, you can still be very quick.
Indeed, you can. I mean, it's not necessarily what you'd think about when you think about sim racing, when you think about just racing on your phone, but there could be a diamond in the rough like Lawrence Biertens or like any of the people who are going to be winning over the course of the next few weeks. Craig Laws, aka Mr. Tough Monkey, he could be the next diamond in the rough. I've been doing some research about him because I do want to know more about the legend himself, the Tough Monkey. Civil estimator? I don't know what that is. I don't think that job exists in the United States, so I hope we get the chance to ask him what that is, because maybe it's a 737 pilot with another name. Maybe that'll give us some evidence of his background.
He is also a really strong person if you're trying to get into street car racing. Great person to go and learn from. He's got some great videos and stuff to welcome you into the community. He did some dedicated content specifically for Racing Prodigy and the Prodigy Racing League in the first part of our tournament. So looking forward to seeing what he will show. Lawrence Bierton as well was one of the quickest that we had at Prodigy Week. So people are thinking, oh, iOS game to real world car, how's that going to work? It does. And what a car it is as well, the Radical SR1. Now, we actually had it set so that drivers couldn't have more than 60% power. And that's because it is such a snappy car with so much elevation change at the Atlanta Motorsports Park as well. It's the traditional thing that Primal Racing do to introduce drivers to the Radical SR1 and to racing as well. But what we saw a lot was drivers trying to understand how the brakes work with some downforce. Of course, a little bit more pressure initially when you're at speed and then bleed off it as the speed goes away and the downforce, the air flowing over you goes away as well. Understanding how the motorcycle gearbox worked because you had to start it in neutral. I'm trying to remember how this worked. Then you knocked it into second, downshifted twice. I think you were in first, and then you could go. So there are all sorts of weird things, Joey, that you had to remember. And you weren't allowed to use reverse gear as well.
Yeah, you're out of luck. If you were one of those 2 spins, you were totally out of luck there. And also, my now question is, what airline does Lawrence Bierton fly for? Has he been my pilot before?
No, probably not. He told me this, and the problem is, it's been 122 days, and now I've forgotten.
We've forgotten about him. I'll have to look up his LinkedIn.
Go look up his LinkedIn. I'm going to look up his Instagram and to see if he's got anything on there.
I've called him Biertens instead of Bierten enough times. I better find out his actual.
Don't worry. Me too as well. The best thing I felt about Prodigy Week, though, was just seeing a lot of these drivers interact with one another. There was a really great camaraderie between all of them. And part of the training that they got during Prodigy Week was social media training. And so a lot of these drivers for the very first time have actually set up things like Instagram accounts, have, started posting regularly on all of them. And so Ciro Zambra, for example, he had done an Instagram reel recently of his journey, started in Racing Unleashed, which is actually a sim racing competition where you go to their sim racing centers, race in person in physical moving sims. And it's a really interesting championship that has got some very top level drivers as well. I think it was such a cool experience, Joey, and we'll have 16 people this time join us for part 2, not 12, 16.
And I'm glad it worked out, because sometimes you think of the words Discord meetup and you think about that with very bad, context and very bad implications. But sometimes when a group of people come together on the internet, it does turn into a beautiful thing when they meet in real life. And especially when they have social media coaches telling them how to interact with each other, that makes it even smoother.
If you can't tell, by the way, you're still looking at Joey and myself because we have a couple of technical issues behind the scenes. We're just trying to dot the I's to cross the T's, I guess, as you were. So stick with us. Action coming up for semi-final 2, all, of course, as we build up to the first final and the first Prodigy Pass handed out here on RaceRoom for Season 1, Part 2 of the Prodigy Racing League. Okay, now I don't know how much I should really talk about this because I don't know if Matt Fasenak necessarily meant to spill this during the Prodigy Week broadcast, but since we're filling time, I might as well. Now, we've all been talking, right, Joey, about the Prodigy Racing League. Our goal, our hope being later this year to be able to have the Prodigy Draft to draft drivers to real-world contracts and to get them racing for the real-world Prodigy Racing League. Now, what car do you think it makes sense for us to go racing with this year?
Well, you might think Mazda MX-5 Cup, because that's what we're driving today. That's what's coming up in the next couple events across the sims. That would make sense.
That would make sense.
Is it a Boeing 737? Are we going to bring it out on track?
It could be a Boeing 737. I think, poor Lawrence would have a pretty big advantage at that point. It could be a Radical SR1. That would seem like a logical thing as well. But Matt Fasenak, too, is one of the people behind the scenes that is making all of this happen. Said on the Prodigy Racing, the Prodigy Week broadcast, so I'm not revealing any secrets, that he wants to do a custom prototype because I quote here, an LMP2 car isn't good enough.
LMP 2.5 or LMP 1.5, I guess.
There you go. We don't need hybrids. We just need straight 700 horsepower, and let's scare the living daylights out of the drivers. If you're, again, joining us for the first time, you're wondering what we're talking about. While we get these technical issues resolved behind the scenes, let's go check out a little bit of that action on Prodigy Week on the final day when the drivers finally got unleashed at the Atlanta Motorsports Park.
A little bit more of a special day today. We've been building up to more of a pressure situation. So you guys have done the autocross, you've done the car racing, which was a lot of fun. You've done your physical fitness assessment, your media training, you've done your sit-down interviews, you've been on track, you've done onboard video review, you've done data review. Well, we've got a more of a challenging day today that we've got to manage because of a cold front that's come in. It doesn't normally get down to 0 degrees Celsius or 32 or so Fahrenheit, but it has now. That puts some challenges on the race cars and some restrictions on us.
Prodigy has done such a great job getting these cars so close. It's not often you guys get your own tires. The cars are all within 1 or 2 tenths of each other, very, very close. So it's a great opportunity as far as that goes. So with the rest of it, we're going to wait for the temperature to come up. And then I think we're going to go look at the car, and we'll talk about elements of the car to help you guys better understand how to tackle the cold temperatures.
We've been talking a lot about how to get the heat to the tire, but the reason that you're doing the accelerating and the braking, it is one, obviously to build temperature in a straight line, so it's safer. What you're doing with the braking side is you're building that temperature from within the wheel. That the braking is creating heat. That heat is being put into the wheel, and that wheel is that generating that tire pressure and then that tire temperature from inside out. So you're getting a more core temperature into the tire, and that's the longer lasting stuff.
Really the last chance qualifying and then the tournament bracket for this afternoon. We're going to determine who the bottom 8 are based on timing and scoring. Those bottom 8, we're going to organize LCQs, last chance qualifying, starting around 1 o'clock Eastern. Then what we're going to do, we're going to save 2 of you. 1 of you will be saved by the fans. Then the judges are going to save a driver as well. They will compete in the tournament bracket later this afternoon.
Honestly, I think today's a little better. I think you sleep on it, and it's like anything. You train in a way that you get used to those conditions.
You push the tires a lot, and you do a lot of oversteer. You have no tires at the end. So here you need a lot the right tires, because you have some long corners to the left. So yeah, I'm saving a bit of my tires at the end.
Yeah, I don't know how we ended up. I think it was pretty good. Lap felt good. So yeah, I think it should be good. I don't know if we're locked in or not. We'll see.
Good. Obviously, we couldn't go full pace, but I actually got a pretty good feeling for the brake, better than yesterday. I don't know if that's due to not running full pace.
It is too cold. So the engine keeps getting colder, the tires or the air's flowing over the tires, making those also get cold.
Lorenz Herzing is just coming out of turn number 4. We're going to watch through turn 6 how aggressive he's going to be.
First lap into turn 6, great run right down on the apex, picks up the throttle on the way off. No slide there, so a little bit of caution. That's not a bad thing at all. He's just making sure right now he's got the grip. He's already gotten a feel up in turn 3 and 4 through the first carousel, whether he's got grip or not.
Job's not done. We still got 2 more guys to beat, and they're going to be some good competitions.
It's just 18.137 seconds, so it's a little bit smaller. They will have maybe a bit more visibility into one another. Ariel out of turn 6, though, maybe not as loose as maybe we would hope. We'll see what that represents in the time.
You saw me like
yes,
every lap. Oh my God!
Yes, and I thought the same thing. You know, I thought I was just a little bit faster, but in the end,
when I stopped the car, I feel, oh my God, I lose that one because I also like in the same position, so it's difficult to judge.
Yeah, exactly.
That was quite wide from Nathan Saxon out of turn number 6. Let's watch Garrett Lowe funnel his way through here as well. That looked a bit tentative, to be honest.
It did. It was a little bit reserved. I expected to see a little bit more aggression that first lap out. And like you said, for Nathan Saxon, a little bit wide. So what are we going to get here from these drivers the first lap by? 24/7.
Where is he finding this time? We've seen no one in these knockouts be able to find that sort of speed. And I tell you what, Nathan Saxon has been slowly and methodically building up. He hasn't been the fastest just yet, but he's showing us that right now.
Both very methodical approaches. They're just in very different industries. The idea, though, to me, how Lorenz won his Prodigy Pass to get here. Gustavo sitting at the wheel of a sim rig, racing like mad, and Lorenz probably in the break room at the airport with his iPhone, right?
Playing street kart racing on his iPhone. Is ready to greet Gustavo aerially at the line. I'll just remind you, in the qualifying session this morning, he did a 1:24.819, so he's very much been able to bring himself back up to that speed, and as he brings himself to the line, he beats that time at 24.714. Drivers just can't help themselves.
Sure, my 4th lap was almost back on pace. I think the 5th lap would be on pace and the 6th would maybe be better, but like, anyway, it's 4 laps. It's the same for everyone. he got a little practice session ahead, but nevertheless, like I said, he deserves it.
Yeah, the first heat race with David, I didn't warm up my tires so well, and I struggled a bit on the first lap, so it was a tricky race with him. And now I managed to warm up my tires a bit.
Drivers are going to make their way into the cars. Gustavo did also point out something that you and I had talked about, I think, today, in that the way that the track has changed with the conditions, nothing like what he's experienced on the sim before. That was a comment that he made.
Nathan Saxon that is in the lead car, Gustavo Ariel in the second, and all day long the leader has had an advantage. I have no idea why. Let's see if it plays out on this one.
And both of these drivers have led their respective matchups. The margin, 9.703 seconds to be very, very precise. Gustavo Ariel launches it down through the opening corner as he tries to hunt down Saxon, who's up through turn 3, and we're just watching him take that wide arc from the top of the hill. That nice. Very tidy.
Very nice. Car really underneath him through there, down into turn 6. I need like lizard eyes out both sides of my head and trying to watch him. Oh, big slide.
That is going to be at least 0.3 of a second lost there. We'll watch Gustavo Ariel in through turn 6 as well from the broadcast booth.
Oh, he's got it too.
There is a little bit of sideways slip going on.
Both of those drivers pushing harder on the first lap. Yeah, he's going to answer right now. You know, you look at the gap that Gustavo Ariel was able to close. Like I said, he's not going to get it all at one time, but he's got to get it in chunks. He needs some here.
24.9.
Nice. Nice. That was the way to answer. All right, so what is Gustavo Ariel going to have? Both of those drivers putting in really, really strong performances.
The margin at the end, 8.724 seconds. So the winner of this final knockout matchup, it's Gustavo Ariel, the Brazilian.
Should we go to this meeting?
Yeah. Let me just get a snack first.
Snack? I brought a snack.
Oh, that's okay. I'm good.
No. I got this. Told you I brought a snack.
There's a better way to eat pickles on the go. SuckerPunch, the snack with a snap.
When you look at the number of participants who had a shot at this, who wanted to be one of 12 of 60-something thousand, I mean, that's impressive in and of itself. what a diverse group of drivers, what a diverse group of participants. Just really cool. They should all be very, very proud.
Players around 4 platforms. I mean, I'm lucky to be here.
We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. Hickory, dark, giving them to determine. Right in the storm of focus on rainbow connections like Kermit. The water on my shoulders, it was a burden. Now I don't notice it, everything turning, everything shifting, doing it different. I'm floating, I'm drifting. Shout out the slums, round the world we uplifted, doing it big. We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. We about to change the game. We out here.
Every one of them deserves to be there, celebrating the fact that they were here and a part of this very first ever Prodigy Week for Racing Prodigy, and what a 3 days it was.
And here we go, they're gonna spray it. And let's see if they've learned how to spray the champagne.
Well, welcome back along to the Prodigy Racing League Mazda MX-5 Golden Ticket Series on RaceRoom, powered by SuckerPunch. Our junior Kanky Party, Joey Tebbin alongside. He's been slowly working through his, what are they called? Sweet spiced bread and butter chip SuckerPunch pickles. Your green screen's doing a number on the packaging.
I love that. That's beautiful. The power of green. You can see through it.
This is what it's meant to look like.
Well, you have an actual background. If I was to drop this green screen behind me, you'd be seeing a very, very small apartment. Arjuna's got those. He's got big space. He can move his arms. He can hang up posters. He can put
VR
Francesco's rear wing back there.
I could do that too. We've got his front wing end plate there too. You can just about see it.
Yeah, there is. I don't trust VR golf because I know the second I take a big swing, I'm going to be slamming the thing into my computer.
What I will say is that is why I'm very glad that I have enough space to play VR golf, because yesterday I was playing with Lewis McClade, fellow commentator, and the amount of times that he swore, said, "Oh, dang it, I've hit something." It was quite amusing, actually, which at least lifted my spirits. Joey, we've been filling a bit of time just getting some technical issues behind the scenes resolved, but semi-final 1 done. Semi-final 2 is on the horizon. One thing just to note, qualifying actually happened quite a while ago. Drivers have been waiting to go racing while we've had this issue resolved. They are going to be gridded up in that ordering from the qualifying session that was now almost 30 minutes ago. What's that going to do to the mentality of the drivers?
Well, waiting is never really a good thing, because it just kind of raises the tension. All those drivers were ready to go racing after qualifying was over. They were prepared and they were just ready. But now they've had to sit there for 30 minutes. They've had to find something to do. They probably watched the start of the F1 race and were fairly disappointed. And now they have to get ready to actually go racing and find that rhythm again, which they may have lost after sitting out of the car for 30 minutes. They may have lost a little bit of that touch, and they're going to be getting the rhythm on turn 1, lap 1.
They'll have a bit of time maybe to practice and warm up once they jump into the race server itself, but not much time, so going to have to switch on pretty quickly. And, we've talked about Prodigy Week being not just a test about the driver's skill behind the wheel, but, mental, physical components are important as well. Let's talk about the physical for just a second. As part of the footage that we've seen in some of the breaks that we've been having, see some of those the rather physical tests that the drivers went through on day 1 of Prodigy Week. And Joey, I will just be completely honest. Day 1 was the only day I was very glad to be in the commentary booth and not where the drivers were, because that test did not look fun.
You should have been down there. You should have put yourself in the experience. You could have been lifting pickle jars, and you could have been doing everything. Next time we're getting you there.
I will say, if anyone wants to put me into a radical, I'm more than willing to do that.
That's the trait. If you do the, the fitness gram pacer test or whatever they did there, you can get in the radical as well.
I don't fit in a radical SR1 is the problem, Joey. At
Radical
6'5", we have to
or
cut
this
my legs
whatever
off.
this mystery grand prototype for next Prodigy Week. Maybe that'll fit you.
Let's go with the Prodigy Racing League prototype. How about that? No, I think we'll go Radical SR3. Even more power. It's not restricted in terms of its throttle like the SR1s are for our Prodigy Week participants. Sure, they're going to let a commentator loose who's never driven a race car before.
Why not? You're trusted with a real car. That's enough.
I mean, Porsche trusted me to commentate and race in the Porsche All-Stars recently. So
there you go.
They had a lot more faith in my driving abilities.
You got beaten by Tony Kanaan, though. I watched that for like 5 seconds.
Right. Now, I got beat by Tony Kanaan, but every time I try to interview Tony Kanaan, he complains that it's too hard to talk and race at the same time. I had to do that entire race while commentating, talking, and racing. So later today, when I'm talking to TK in the Porsche All-Stars, I'm just going to remind him, don't forget, you beat me last time, but only because you didn't want to talk. Anyway, the time for talking hopefully is in the past. Drivers getting a few minutes, like I mentioned, to get that practice under their belt. So that is important. We're at Road America. Joey, if people are just joining us, they missed semifinal number 1. We saw an immense amount of drafting and wheel-to-wheel action, albeit just not at the front.
We did see it at the front on the final lap. We did have a photo finish, which you can probably expect from this as well. But in these cars, 184 horsepower, about 1,100 kilograms. I think that translates to about 2,500 pounds. They are very, very light. They are very, very nimble, and they will use the full effect of the draft in these long straights. So it's almost like a road course super speedway, what we could call this combo, and you're going to see packs stuck together all race long. These 20 minutes are going to be totally action-packed. There's not going to be a single place on track where there's nothing going on.
So we take a look at them in that practice session. Aston Gellert in one of the Mazda MX-5s. These, of course, the cup machines that will match what you see in the real world. Wheel and MX-5 Cup Series, which I believe, if I remember correctly, do they race at St. Petersburg still?
Yes, they do, I believe. I believe that's coming up next week.
Ooh, that is always a lot of fun because you get to see on the street circuits, very bumpy, the way they race. No, they aren't racing.
Now they're going to Sebring.
Which is still bumpy, don't get me wrong, but they basically back-linked up with the IMSA schedule. So do enjoy, by the way, and follow along with the Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup Series and cheer on Weston Workman, who was behind the scenes at Prodigy Week Part 1, making it all happen. I'm trying to take a look at the timing screen as it populates some of the drivers in the session and figure out what we should expect. At the end of the day, Joey, when we saw Romanidis, when we saw Nikodem Wisniewski at the top of the running in practice and qualifying for semi-final 1, that wasn't a surprise. Semi-final 2, qualifying order, just to quickly run you through the top 5. Philip Drace, Leandro Werler, Marcin Suideric, Angelo Mikel, and then Enzo Filipao. So not much of a surprise in terms of strong RaceRoom runners there. Look through the rest of the 24 names, though, and the one that really stands out to me, Brandon Hawken in the top 10, and someone that, Joe, we saw, again, much like Romanidis, across multiple simulators in Part 1 of the Prodigy Racing League.
And he's going to be getting himself a little bit of racing practice here. He's in the same livery that somebody had last time out. I've already forgotten who was in that same car, but it was very, very exciting. And Brandon knows how to make. Yes, exactly right. It was but Brandon Hawken. I remember when we had our last event at Atlanta Motorsports Park in the virtual world, Brandon Hawken was going for passes in places that you can't really make passes and still succeeding. So if you want a driver to get aggressive today and move their way through the field, he's absolutely going to be one to watch.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that, to be honest. He was really making some moves in some of the undulating parts of the track, which I will be honest, in the sim, Joey, we talked about in our R-Factor 2 tournament at the Atlanta Motorsports Park, right? Just how much of a challenge the elevation was. You go there in person. I didn't get to go and be a part of the track walk, but I got to just see the elevation, of course, from the commentary booth. It's intimidating. And the other thing that we don't think about in the sim a lot of the time as well is, for example, you come over the top at turn 12, right before the final long left-hand sweeper. When you've got the wind that's blowing directly, let's say, towards your car coming over the crest, because the Radical SR1 is a downforce car, you come over the crest and suddenly the balance has completely changed because the aero balance has completely changed. Something that the drivers really had to get to grips with in the real world.
That is the physical reality of real life racing you have to adapt to. It's so hard, and it's something you just can't get in sim racing, but that's exactly why this program exists. That's exactly why this pipeline is set up. So drivers who show driving skills and fine motor controls and all that can adapt to those real life parts of racing and add those to their skill set so they can actually make a career.
And again, just remind you that there's not you could still, it's not too late, you can still join us for round 2 of this RaceRoom Mazda MX-5 Cup Golden Ticket Series powered by SuckerPunch. Brands Hatch is the host for round 2. It will begin in just a few hours time, so head on to racingprodigy.com, get your Racing Prodigy RaceRoom Game Pass for just $14.99. This enters you for every Prodigy Racing League event on RaceRoom for the next 12 months. You want to follow along with all the action as well. Social media, YouTube. Make sure you're joined for all of the coverage of Prodigy Week Part 2, as well as our search selection committees. Lots to come on the run-up, Joey, as I'm sure the drivers from Prodigy Week Part 1 are going to be watching on during Part 2 from afar and wondering, now when we go racing in the real world, who is my main competition going to be?
Exactly. I think they might get pretty scared, though, by the YouTube chat, because now that we have Tiago Mello in this second race of the day, the Tiago Mello fans are absolutely out in full force. There's 5 or 6 people there cheering on Mello, so that's going to be a lot of power. That's a lot of wind and a lot of fan power that's going to be behind him today.
We have managed to transport inside of the track based on the camera
underneath
angle
Wisconsin.
there.
That's where the cheese comes from.
Stole the words out of my mouth. That's exactly where you get the cheese from here at Road America. Joey, your sense of humor is clearly rubbed off on me. That's not a good sign.
That's a very good thing. You're going to be... It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful for the rest of the season now.
It's going to be painful.
If you have a 1-syllable name, you better know you're going to get that transformed somehow.
Well, as mentioned, no qualifying that we're going to get to see. These drivers qualified before we took a brief intermission with our technical issues. They're ready to go. I'll quickly run you down through the starting grid. I'm not sure if you'll see the graphics on screen. Philip Drace will lead us to the green. Leandro Werler will be alongside. And then Marcin Suwiderek and Angelo Mikel share row number 2. Enzo Filippo, Stan Vlestra, Matej Markovic, Nathan Maximin, Brandon Hawking, and Lucas Wallering. I think that's your top 10. You can already see the cars on the formation, ready to go. We won't see the rest of the names. Instead, we see the start of semi-final 2 in the Prodigy Racing League Mazda MX-5 Cup Golden Ticket Series, powered by SuckerPunch. Great start from the front, but as we work away in towards the first corner, single file for first, but already side by side for second. And look at the formation behind that's in the rearview mirror of your leader. Drace sees side by side and 2 by 2 through the field, but down out of the opening corner. A tidy start for 24 machines.
Verla and Swiderek have to be very careful here. They can't run side by side for too long at risk of losing the draft of Drace. They did a good job, though, of single filing out there through turn 3. About half a second is a reasonably large margin, but that is still within draft range. If Verla can stay there and not let Swiderek get to the inside and go for another move, he should be able to keep touch with first place and keep this train going.
So down the hill, who feels brave on the brakes? Cold tires maybe on through turn 1, but at this point maybe you're feeling a bit more comfortable with the balance underneath you. Brandon Hawkin in the Movano Sim Racing car in that MPI livery is now on the outside and trying to hold off a bit of a charge down low from Hassan Geller. As they rise up through turn 6, he passes the Atlanta Motorsports Park liveried entry, and through the hurry down, single file the field will get. Drace leads then from Werler, Suwiderek, Filippo, and Mikel, the top 5 as they run right now. Why do I get the suspicion, Joey? I don't know the gaps in qualifying. I just get the sneaking suspicion the margin at the front not going to be as large in semi-final 2.
No, there was not the separation of the top 2 in this series, I don't think, but we've got the top 5 in a draft train with each other. These guys are fighting over P6, though. Stan Vlietstra, we saw him in a few events last season, and Enzo Filippo as well, and Nathan Maximin as well in this battle. They're going to resolve things as well. They've been so well behaved on lap 1, actually, to single file things out before they run side by side through high-speed corners like the kink.
And through the kink, we've seen big crashes there. Catherine Legg, of course, going on now almost 20 years ago. High speed off into the wall, into Canada corner. It's side by side, but all the way down effectively for 8th position. Top 12 advance to the final. That's why they're all jockeying just to make sure they're in the best track position to stay calm, stay comfortable. Still 17 and a half minutes to go. Behind Stan Vliestra is where all the action is right now. As they head off to the final corner, look up the inside, a big send under the brakes as they filter through the corner. That was Markovic, I do believe, that filtered and threw it up the inside of Brandon Hawkin, who now watches as Thiago Mello, with the full support of the YouTube chat, Joey tries to work his way up the inside.
The whole support of the YouTube chat and the whole support of an entire country behind him. But Matija Markovic, that's a country you don't see often in sim racing, representing Montenegro today in this race room competition. Look at Brandon Hawkin in the background going for a move to the inside. Thiago is actually kind of in an island of his own here. He's the only driver not side by side with someone in the battle for the last spot.
Out of turn 1, Markovic drops to the back. Classed as a DNF straight away there. So issues for 1, 23 still going. Watch as Gellert now in the rearview mirror behind. We'll watch as that's going to be a small little check up off the corner for Melvin Brandt, and Martin Havlana will take advantage and sneak on through. Let's look on board with Hassan Gellert. Of course, great to be able to get the webcam perspective for every single one of the drivers that we have in our field here today. Up the inside, are we going to see a move? Is it going to be gravity working in his favor as he tries to make the block pass happen? Nicely executed. Not much defense in the end of the day.
Now, you don't really want to defend too hard right now. If you're going to get passed, you kind of want to take the L early and just slot back in line. Make sure you stay in the draft. Because if you fight that driver side by side and lose time ahead, you're not just losing a position, but you're losing both of you touch with the car ahead by slowing each other down and running side by side. And that's another part of racing. It's not just about passing. It's not just about, fighting for yourself. It's about, realizing the grand situation of the race. You can make as many overtakes as you want, but if you're losing the draft and fighting too hard for a position that doesn't really matter, you're not making it into the top 12 or winning anyway.
So at the front, Dre Swirler, and then the two behind still trying to close him down, being Filippo and Sawideric, have broken away. But as I mentioned, definitely going to be a couple more cars involved here. Could we have 6 at the front in the final if all 4 of these join up with the 2 out of semi-final 1 that broke away? Of course, Michael Romanidis, Nikodem Wisniewski. There's a bit of a working of the wheel from Leandro Werle, and I think that's something that we have to remember in these Mazda MX-5s, is because you're going lower speeds than maybe prototypes like the Radical SR1. I'm not saying you have to be less precise, Joey, but there is a little bit more, let's say, hard work in terms of balancing the car on the pitch edge of its balance.
You can see there's quite a bit of force feedback, I think, in that wheel. Even just pointed in a straight line, Leandro is fighting with it a little bit, giving it a couple of adjustments. But this is a driver with tons of race room experience on the Visceral Esports squad, and I see in the background there, I think that might be a Brazilian stock car on that poster. Tons of experience with many, many different types of virtual racing vehicle, and taking that all into this MX-5 today.
Is he going to have a look to the inside here? No, he's bump drafting the SCCA machine just down into the corner. We had some good support during Prodigy Week from some of the grassroots motorsports communities that recognize what we're doing. Mazda, of course, coming on board for Season 1, Part 2. NASA and SCCA both represented when we were at the track as well. And NASA's not the guys that send people to space, but instead the people that get people racing in their local communities. Go and check out all the different community level programs for autocross and different things that NASA has available. I don't think there will be a fight up front initially. Fight may end up being for 5th on back, where, Nathan Maximin, Stan Vliestra, Angelo Mikel, and Brandon Hawkin now find themselves all in one long line. And there they go, Joe. You can just see them checked up behind 5th position.
And just for the record, I do love the NASA of racing, the National Autosport Association, but I think we might need to send out a call to the other NASA. We might need to maybe work some of that in here too. Get the drivers in a centrifuge to get used to the G-forces. Maybe put them at space camp. Do something like that to test them.
Now, they do say that engineers, of course, make great astronauts. So, racing drivers are, engineers in many ways, right? So
get the first racing driver on Mars. Let's do that.
racing series on Mars. That's the goal, I think, for what we should be achieving, Joey.
But I think those were the people who were first contacted for the Apollo program originally. They thought about fighter jet pilots and they thought about racing drivers because they thought about who are the craziest people on Earth who will be willing to get into a rocket and go to the moon. And those are the two types of people they thought about.
It's a move for 5th position as Vlistra's going to slide up the inside and pass Nathan Maximum. Excuse me, that's for 5th position. I did not realize they asked racing drivers, but especially back in that era, that makes a lot of sense. So that was the era of the crazy race car drivers. Vlistra looks over, just trying to figure out how much space he has. He is able to run back into line, and now the draft's going to be fed as they... So it's a big climb as well. Climb up towards that start-finish line, continue climbing up to turn number 1, and these drivers find, what is it, a 4-second gap up to your race leader. So if this was the final, Joey, just to make people aware, you only really need to win the race to win the Prodigy Pass. It doesn't matter what happens behind. We only care about the winner. There are no points out of this either that really matter for the overall series. Those are all paid out in the regular rounds of the races.
Precisely, and it does convert a little bit because you start further forward in the field in the final. That'll get you more points eventually, so these positions do add up to points eventually, but yeah, it's a little bit of a holding pattern right now. And I was just curious about what that shirt was in the background of Stan Vlietstra's camera, because I don't know what shirt that was. I need Arjuna Sim Racing Dictionary over there to translate to whatever that was.
I couldn't quite see it. I'll be honest, I wasn't paying that much attention to the background there, but it wasn't a super obvious sim racing shirt from what I could tell.
They're all red and white.
They're all the bane of the WEC color scheme. No move offered down into turn 5 as they continue to run their way on forward now, closing on half race distance. Remember, this is a 20-minute semi-final. 24 drivers enter, 12 advance to the final, where 30 minutes will be put onto the clock and 1 golden ticket to the Atlanta Motorsports Park will be on the line. Here we go. Business heating up at the front. Leandro Whirler shoots it up the inside of Philip Drace. Not going to get it done, though. Through the carousel, Drace still has the inside, but side by side eventually converts to single file.
We are almost halfway in this race already. It's absolutely flown by, and these guys are saying it's about time to start fighting, because we've got a gap back to 5th place. It's about 3 seconds now. I think they know they can afford to start fighting. Didn't work out for Verla, though. He's able to study a little bit now and find the place where he wants to go for the move. Does he want to copy the move that won the previous semifinal and wait until Canada Corner to go for the race-winning pass? Or does he want to go a little bit earlier? Maybe bring in those drivers in 3rd and 4th as well into the fray. There's so many combinations that could go off here, and all 4 of these drivers are going to be doing a little bit of practice here in the final 10 minutes for the final lap.
Yeah, and again, this is practice, I guess, for the final as well, right? As long as they don't let those drivers behind close too much, all of this fighting is going to help them understand how to fight when the pressure is really on. By the way, Joey, our conversation about racing on Mars may have actually spawned some serious conversation. The Prodigy Racing League people will take anything. If you give them an idea, they'll go and try and run with it, no matter how crazy it is.
Yeah, what's gravity on Mars? Is it like half Earth gravity or something? Just plug that into the physics and we'll work it out.
A great thing about simulators, we can try it before we need to spend all the money to send race cars out there. No move at the front in the battle for the lead, but behind them, a couple of drivers have had a few issues, and we mentioned that Markovic seemingly had retired, and Nikolai Hell has dropped to the back and is continuing rather to lose time. Let us know who you're cheering for, by the way, here in semi-final number 2. I see plenty of the support, of course, for Thiago Mello, but 4 drivers at the front to, at least for the time being, not forcing the issue, Joey, which is what you want to see.
Apparently, if you weigh 100 pounds on Earth, you weigh 38 pounds on Mars. So that's like 33% gravity. Imagine how that would change the racing if a little bit of contact, you're floating in the air for about 5 feet. I like this idea now. If the people at RaceRoom are listening and they can play with their physics engine, give me racing with 33% gravity.
Can they also scan the original lunar lander as well? And we go racing in that?
There's a Lego version of that coming soon.
Is there?
Yes.
Oh, Joey, you've just bankrupted me.
Good.
Yeah, yesterday, by the way, new Lego day. There's plenty of motorsports Lego that came out yesterday. I'm not going onto the Lego website. I have to stay as far away from it as possible. I've been told I have a problem. Brandon Hawking on board with him. And what a perspective it is. I have never seen this in 4 years of sim racing broadcasting, over 1,000+ events, from behind the wheel GoPro style.
This is like Top Gun, straight on in the pilot, steering wheel. This is good stuff.
What we need, though, is just for Brandon to have a bit of a chat with Tom Cruise so that we get the IMAX quality cameras for him.
Don't have too much of a chat with Tom Cruise, though. You might get involved in some stuff.
I mean, Tom Cruise he'll be ready to race on Mars. We know that for sure. This is the fight for 5th. They're not fighting too much back for 12th position. Let's not forget where the fight's really important. To make sure you're in the final, to make sure you're in with a chance of being there at the end. Maximin's going to try and hold on as they sweep up through the long left-hander at Bill Mitchell Bend. Oh, I'm getting nervous. I don't know why. Vliestra's got the inside line. Slightly better momentum off the corner for him if he just carries the speed through, but feeds the draft behind. And up front, I got a sneaking suspicion that finally Whirler's being displaced from 2nd, and potentially Filippo's trying to have a move. He ran out of draft. He goes back to 4th. Such is how you can chop and change in the draft here at Road America.
Bad news for Lucas Froelich fans over there. He's got to serve a drive-through penalty, but these 3 drivers now need to work together again. They lost the draft by about 7/10, and they cannot afford to fight for 2nd right now. They need to work together to catch Philip Drace again. This is the time, which is very difficult for racing drivers, to drop being selfish, because you have to work together. If any of the 3 of you want to win the race, you need to work together if any of you want to have any chance of doing that.
I don't know what there is, by the way, in terms of crossover between Lego and racing, but William Byron, of course, confirmed that he was a Lego fan on the NASCAR Netflix series. I'm just saying, Lego, come and sponsor us at the Prodigy Racing League. We would love your support in our journey to make motorsports accessible to all. Maximin's going to have a look, gets a little bit out of sorts, and then the argy-bargy off the corner gets him forward and past Vliestra, who doesn't come under pressure from behind. This is, I've got to say, as much as it's great racing, very calculated racecraft as well. What you'd love to see.
It's been very clean as well. There's not been much rubbing like we saw in the previous race. Drivers have been giving each other room. They've not been sending each other off the track. It's been very, very well behaved. Maximin, he looks totally calm right now. He's got to get a little bit worried, though, because they're going to be side by side through the carousel, but that emotion's not changing whatsoever. He is ice cold, and he is ready to keep defending.
I always wonder as you come through the carousel, how do you set yourself up for the kink? Because probably flat out in these cars, but do you want a slight little bit of a lead in into the corner so you really, at this point, start to close up your momentum? Maximin's going to now have to try and cover the inside, you have to think. Is he going to go uber defensive? Is he going to force drivers the long way around, down towards Canada corner? No. Single file, we stay. How boring.
I think there was a little bit of contact into Canada corner potentially. Maximin got very out of shape in the rear end, but I think everybody got away with it. But yeah, this is the battle for 5th, and we're seeing an identical battle for 1st. So whether we're looking at this or whether we're looking at the battle for 1st, don't get confused, because it's going to look exactly the same. You're not looking at the same battle twice.
Yeah, you need eyes all around, and that's the great thing about being in the sim world, of course. We get infinite camera angles in many different ways. Looking forward to going back out for Prodigy Week when Brian Till and myself will be looking through the commentary booth glass and just trying to figure out what the cars are doing based on the body language from out the window, excuse me. It's a really interesting experience, especially at Atlanta, knowing how much undulation there is, just watching the body language. Here's the split screen, the side-by-side battle for the lead on the left, battle for 5th on the right, and I mean the conga line for the lead. Joey, at some point, you have to assume that Philip Drace is going to come under pressure, but he has really dealt with it admirably well so far.
Well, if there's any cycling fans watching, this is a little bit like the end of any cycling road race. Everybody rides in a pack for miles upon miles, and then you get into the final 100-meter stretch, and suddenly you use every little bit of power you have to try and actually win at the line. And that's what's happening now. The running is over. The peloton is over. And now it's time for full power until the end. You just saw Verla going for a move again into turn 5 for the lead. They're going to be side by side through turn 6 as well.
And now, Drace had a bit of a shove there that saw him get a little bit out of sorts. But as he comes through, the hurry down, was there more contact that will drop him to 4th? Again, remember, he will still be in the final, still has a chance, but after leading for about 17 full minutes, Philip Drace to 4th, Leandro Werler to the lead, and now it's Swiderick and Filippo, the two behind, putting the pressure on. That's how quick, Joey, things can change at Road America.
Drace is not out of this, though. You can still see he's within 1 second. He had a fantastic save, and these three guys are going to run side by side. They are going to battle, and they are going to lose time. Philip Drace may be on the back foot right now, but he can absolutely fight this back. It'll be one more lap at the line, and he's definitely still going to be in this.
Which way does it go? Which way do the drivers decide to go? Will they be aggressive here on the penultimate lap? There's the jink from Swiderick to the inside of Filippo. We'll have the lunge, give a bit more of a breathing room to your race leader as they come towards the line. That might actually come back to give a bit of strife if it gives a bit of a slingshot up towards turn number 1. I've got to say, as much as Romanidis and Nikodem Wisniewski put on a show on the final lap, these drivers have kept each other honest, and there's been a change, by the way, inside of the top 12. I can tell you that dropping to 14th is Martin Havlana, and as we come onto the final lap of the race, battle for 4th and 3rd will start to resume. Joey, we finally have some intrigue for the top 12.
We do, and there's intrigue here as well. Swiderick clipped the grass coming through the final corner, lost a ton of time, and lost touch with those front two. So I think we've got two separate battles now. A battle for the lead into turn 1. Enzo Filippo takes that, and there's going to be a battle for 3rd, losing time to both of these guys now.
I think the two fighting behind, if they work together, by the time they get down to the 2nd and 3rd sector of the lap, they could be right on top of each other again. Almost looked as though Filippo ran into the back of Werler as they ran out of turn 3. Very well judged defense to get a good run, good gap between 1st and 2nd as they run down this straightaway for the final time in semi-final 2. Remember, bragging rights, grid position for the final. That's all that's on the line here. No prizes. The Prodigy Pass, that golden ticket, that comes at the final. Jink to the outside. Filippo brings it under control just about, but the SuckerPunch car doesn't get through, and here come the two behind.
It's a little bit of a margin now for Werler. He can hang back and he can breathe for just a moment, but he's not going to be able to breathe coming into Canada corner because Filippo is going to be able to get that draft back if he can have a solid run through turn 8 and through the carousel, and critically doesn't get dived by Drace there. Drace actually hangs back as he wants to preserve at least a possibility of the win. Now it all comes down to Filippo. He needs a good run through the carousel. A better run than this is not going to come. Drace actually gets to the inside.
You can see the look on both drivers' faces as out of the carousel. Oh, Filippo gets passed by Swiderick, who just about made it work. We saw the race control graphic pop up for a couple of times. Now, I'm not sure if there's anything that we need to be aware of. I've shot a message off to race control. We'll get you an update as soon as we can. But what a semi-final 2 this has been. Leandro Werler's going to come out on top. But Joey, I think our appetites have just been whetted for the final, for the main event.
They absolutely have. It may not be as close of a finish here in semifinal number 2 unless something goes horrifically wrong for Leandro Werler into the final corner, but there was tons of excitement all throughout the field, and there's many drivers here to look forward to seeing in the final. All 4 of these guys taking the fight to Romanidis and Wisniewski. Brandon Hawken up to 7th as well. I haven't talked much about him. It's going to be a clash of the Titans coming up in a little bit.
And it will be a drag race behind to try and start 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. But Leandro Werler is going to come to the line. Know the job's only half done. Not going to see much of a reaction from him. He is your winner in semi-final 2 of the Prodigy Racing League Mazda MX-5 Cup Golden Ticket Series on RaceRoom, powered by SuckerPunch. Brief pump of the fists, but recognition that you'll be on the front row, but there's 30 minutes of racing that still lie ahead. We'll get confirmation of the results behind. And for a moment there, you saw on the camera, Leandro Werler's got someone in the room that he's talking to. I hope that's someone coaching him and helping him through some of the emotions and whatnot that we'll have to deal with. Martin Havlana, I mentioned it. Issues in the penultimate lap. He drops to 14th, and the recipient of a final spot as a result, Hassan Gellert, Joey, going to be 12th and the final advancing car from semi-final 2.
Sometimes it just works out like that. That's why you do have to fight so hard for positions that you might not think are important. You might not want to be fighting for 13th or 14th, but every position matters because when somebody drops out in the final lap, you want to be there and be ready to take advantage.
And so look at the race results. It wasn't thousandths, it was a second between the top two in this race, but Drace up to second. Whirler, your winner, yes. Wonder what happened then that saw Drace drop down and what race control maybe thought of it. Filippo, Maximin, and then Vliestra, the rest of your top five. Brandon Hawken worked up to sixth in front of Angelo Mikel. Then you had Lucas Wallering, Nikolai Hell, Thiago Mello. I'm sure plenty of people going to be delighted to see him make his way on forward. You have Brandt, Gellert, Pastor, Havlana, the first driver to miss out. And of course, that's a look top to bottom at some of the drivers in that results page. So, 2 semifinals now done. We know the 24 drivers that will fight in the final. 30 minutes of racing on the line. And Joey, now all that we have to do is wait to go racing.
I don't want to do that. I'm Gen Z. I can't wait. I need instant gratification, and I need little 15-second clips until we get there. So I don't know what I'm going to do for 14 more minutes. I want to go racing now.
Well, I've got to say, Road America, great place to start things off. And just a reminder, still time for you to buy your RaceRoom Game Pass, available on racingprodigy.com. $14.99. It gets you entry to every Prodigy Racing League event on RaceRoom for the next 12 months. Got your opportunity to join our journey in the Prodigy Racing League on this E2Rio pipeline and get to your part. Maybe not a Prodigy Week Part 2 if you don't join in for the next 2 events that are coming up before we wrap up this official series, but maybe after that, plenty more excitement to come. Joey, I'm going to ask you a question. If you had one judge, you can only have one judge to join us for Prodigy Week Part 2, who would you have join us?
Only one judge.
Only one.
I'll go with former Supreme Court Justice John Jay.
I'm sure he can give a lot of guidance on the...
He'll be back. He'll be back. 300 years in the past. Imagine what he'd say about street kart racing on the iPhone. Imagine that.
The reason I asked, though, is because, we look at all of the judges that we had for part 1. So much diversity in background, right? You had Randy Popes, who brings a racing background, of course, Porsche factory driver at a relatively old age, alongside experience driving so many cars as a journalist. Boris Said, bringing endurance racing background. Max Papis with his IndyCar background. Jesse Awuji, of course, coming from the stock car side of things. Kenton Cook from GT cars. I found it really interesting that basically from every sort of different discipline there was someone. You couldn't really ask for much more, and so I was just kind of sitting here going, how could you make Prodigy Week Part 2 better? And I was thinking, what would happen if you got someone who crossed across of the disciplines, right? Someone who understood
Almeida?
Someone like maybe him, or, maybe this is reaching for the stars, but a Jimmy Johnson, maybe a Travis Pastrana. Some of these drivers that have done it all at the top level of motorsport.
I think Sueyo Almeida is actually racing a radical at Atlanta Motorsports Park this week, so I think he would be especially relevant. I've been watching him vlog. I saw our old buddy James Carter, a sim racing driver himself, is actually a crew chief for Sueyo Almeida now, so he's got a full sim racing effort down there at Atlanta Motorsports Park now.
Yeah, and so going to be interesting to see what happens there. I think, by the way, we are just waiting for final race control decisions to be totted up before we can get into the final and really dive into what's going to happen there. So looking forward to figuring out if there was any final race control intervention that ended up mixing up the results, something to always keep an eye on. We were meant to be taking a bit of a break before we were going. I'm not sure exactly what's happening, so make sure you, as ever, are following us on the Racing Prodigy channels on YouTube, on social media as well. Our team at Racing Prodigy has expanded as well. We have a new person helping us with social media that's joined all of the fun. So make sure you get on all of that. Join us, interact with us, let us know where you're watching from, because a truly international experience is the Prodigy Racing League. Joey, you mentioned Brands Hatch coming up next, Mid-Ohio, on this RaceRoom competition. This, comparing the 3 tracks, this is the only real high-speed track of them all.
Yeah, this is the best place for overtaking. Brands Hatch is a tough place to overtake. Mid-Ohio is a tough place to overtake, although in an MX-5, is any place really a tough place to overtake in a Miata? Probably not. There's enough straight lines, there's enough heavy braking zones that they're not going to be as absolutely barn burning as Road America, you might not think, but they're still going to be very, very exciting and very, very challenging in two separate ways.
Well, thank everyone, by the way, again, that makes all of this possible. SuckerPunch, Mazda, Aztec SimSport, Grid, and SimLab. So many people supporting us on our journey. Of course, Advanced Motorsports as well. Yeah, Joey's got his pickles.
I wish I had a Mazda around here to show you.
Oh, that would be great. I don't know if a Mazda would fit behind me, though, Joe. I know I've got enough space to play VR golf. I don't know if I do to have
I don't have a Mazda diecast. I have two Indy cars over there, and the rest of my diecast are either back in Pennsylvania or on my desk at work, so I'm out of luck here.
Well, we'll continue to joke and whatnot, but again, just don't go anywhere. The final coming up in a few minutes' time. We'll be back in 26 minutes. I've just got on the update, right, hot off the presses. 26 minutes from now, we'll be back with the final. Don't go anywhere. RaceSpotTV, Racing Prodigy, as well as the RaceRoom YouTube channel. We'll be back here with the action.
Well, welcome everybody. It's an exciting moment for us. Hopefully very exciting for you guys as well. Congratulations on a wonderful sim racing career for many, and now a real racing career hopefully lies ahead.
Spreading the word, just getting people to know what we're doing, to follow your stories, to follow what we're doing, and believe in it, get behind this, because it's transformational. You can get a lot of people in racing who deserve to be here because of their talent.
So we're going to put you through tests over the next 3 days, on and off track.
This is a competition. As much as you like each other, as much as you guys admire each other, as much as you guys want to be buddies and friends, you are each other's competition. So that level of adrenaline and excitement and anxiety will heighten, and we look forward to experiencing that with you.
Welcome to Racing Prodigy. This is the physical assessment side of things. You all are sim racers, which physically doesn't really require much of anything. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. And you have to learn that driving a race car is hard. The forces on the neck are tough. G-forces, the reaction times are a lot different now. You screw up now, you're in the wall. Not like being in a game where you reset things. We're going to measure your aerobic capacity. So the test that we're going to do today, we're going to run through a 12-minute run on the treadmill. You're going to run for 12 minutes as far as you can, one at a time. As soon as you finish, you sit down for 60 seconds. We'll measure your heart rate recovery. That's critical because in the race car, the heart rate's going to go high, but you want to have it set up so that you're fit enough that it drops as quickly as possible. That's one test. We'll do a reaction test. We'll measure your reaction times. We'll measure your grip strength test with a dead hang where you're hanging from a bar. Neck strength also, and then we'll do an upper body push-up test. Those are the 5 tests.
Reporter's always on. Like the moment they start talking to you and the second they end that interview, you have to be interviewed if you're in person. They're still on, they're still watching. You know, tell me how you got in sim racing. You got to figure out in that 30 to 45 seconds, how do I tell that really cool story about how I got into sim racing? The most important rule, if you ever leave here today, nothing is ever off the record.
On the sim, you know what, the sim can be pretty slick, but once again, you don't have that feel. So it's all about, you just see the rotation happening on the sim, but you don't feel it. It's another thing when basically you have another sensory part of your body having to sense something. That's what sends the fear factor through you, right? And they're like, you see it on the sim, it's one thing, but now you're seeing it and now your brain's like, holy crap, I don't only see it now, I actually feel it. Like, what's this going on? Why is everything getting super, slick? And then all of a sudden now your brain is having to do two things at once versus one thing. So that's what they're going to have to get used to right here. And this is a great place to teach it in a safe environment.
Fear makes you look at what you're afraid of. This is the way our genetics are built. In driving, that's the worst thing you can do. Skid Pad helps teach you not to look at what you're afraid of, but to keep looking where you want to go, which is actually pretty good advice for life.
This is going to be your second on-track experience. You've already done the skid pad, and now you're actually about to jump into karts. So we're going to take you to the way, way back, right, where some of you may have possibly begun, maybe some of you have never karted before, maybe done rail karts, you name it, whatever. Today is about competition, right? We're about to jump into our first real competition of the day on track. So we're going to be jumping in these cars. We're going to be competing in multiple teams. We're going to have 4 teams going, so it should be a pretty good time. Right here behind me are your driver's suits. You got your helmets right above, and then right behind you, you have your amazing gloves. So let's get to it.
And our prodigies are out there. It's the final bit of day one activities, and we have split them up into 4 different teams with 4 different coaches as well. And now we will see how they all get on. The coaches are actually going to be out there as well with their drivers. So it'll be a great opportunity for them in this wheel-to-wheel environment to understand what they want to focus on in the next couple of days. This karting track is also Herman Tilke designed, and it does bear a lot of similarities in a lot of ways to the main track itself. Of course, the elevation change and the way the corners kind of rise and fall, but those rises and falls, those crests and valleys, that's what really requires the drivers to adapt around to the situation that they are dealing with. So as we're ready to go for the final kart event of day one of Prodigy Week, it is with Team Kenton Cook on the outside, Marco Page, Lorenz Herzing, and Nathan Saxon, the 3 prodigies in that team. We've got Randy Popes on the left-hand side and his team of Andrea Leonardi, Lauren Bertin, and Ciro Zambra. As we come toward the opening corner to get the green flag out for the final of day one of Prodigy Week.
What a run by Kenton Cook.
And that's now 2 places in 1 lap, but loses some momentum back up the hill to the line, and it's going to mean that Saxon has to get off the loud pedal for just a second. It is still quite close in terms of points, though, as the flag is going to fly. It's going to be Kenton Cook that wins in our final activities of day one of Prodigy Week. And with Nathan Saxon, Randy Popes, and Marco Pate, Ciro Zambra, Lorenz Herzing, and Andrea Leonardi behind, it should be a victory going the way of Team Kenton Cook, led, of course, by sterling display of speed in the closing stages.
Good morning. Everybody slept well? Recovered from the assessment? So we're going to go over your results today, and I want to talk a little bit about what all this means. I just want to kind of preface all this with being aware that racing is a dangerous sport. My first experience in racing that was really traumatic was Max was there in 1999. We lost Greg Moore, and I was first time I ever experienced death at a racetrack. And then my best friend Tony Renna lost his life in 2003 at IMS. It happens. Dangerous sport. This isn't like every sport where you can rest for a point or sit down on the bench or just relax. This is a life and death sport. Physical preparation is critical. Reduces your risk of injury, recover faster, it might save your life. So all these areas that we tested today aren't just because we want to see who's the fittest person out here. A lot of these things are habits that you should take on for the rest of your career. Drivers should be great at anything outside of the car. They should be really good at all sorts of activities. That's my advice to you. Everyone has some work to do here, so I think based on these reports, you kind of know where you need to target.
I am surprised at how well everybody did, because these are sim drivers, and sim drivers don't have any G-forces to deal with. You're pushing the brake pedal, the steering, and so I mean, I'm impressed with where you guys are. Racing Prodigy is starting today with a track walk. We're looking at Atlanta Motorsports Park, and we're just going to stand on each corner. We're going to drive there and talk about how to do the corner. And it's going to be a combination of the fundamentals of driving cars tied into this racetrack.
Why low speed corner are very important is because you stay in the corner for a long time. Usually, when I started, I focused on high speed. I wanted to be great. But you are in a corner for such a short amount of time that you cannot make enough of a difference. While if you're in the corner, in the low speed corner, you might be 5 seconds into the corner, the duration. In a high speed corner, maybe a second. What you can gain or lose in a place like this is a lot more. So I would start focusing. If this is the slowest part of the track, that would be my number one focus to start.
Coach, talk to me and let the viewers on YouTube stream around the world know what we're preparing for and what's getting ready to happen.
Yeah, so the drivers are finally going to go out on the racetrack for the first time this week in the SR1s, and we're going to prepare them for how the rest of the event will go, right? So these cars record data, they record video, and when the driver comes in, we're able to pull that from the car, put it into a computer, and go over their session lap by lap, corner by corner. How hard did you brake? When did you go to throttle? Where'd you turn? Right, we can start to kind of pick apart a lap and give them the best way to do it and the most efficient way and the fastest way to go about it.
State of mind is everything. I've done like 18 and a half hours of a 24-hour race, right? And a NASCAR race is, 4 hours. But the first time you get in and do one, I remember the first time I did an oval race, I felt like E.T. in the river after. And it was just because I wasn't comfortable. Right? You're hanging on tight, you're just using all this energy, but when you feel relaxed and let it flow, you're not using the energy. And you'll get to drive forever.
Promise that several of these drivers have, really all of them, because they're all standouts in the virtual world in what they do. The promise that all of them have is extensive. Some will, like every other driver you see come into motorsports, some will leap up to the performance levels very quickly. They just seem to have a natural ability. Others have to study it and work, but they get to the same level. It just takes them a little bit longer. So I expect big things out of all 12 participants.
So you guys now know this is how it looks, Now your brain knows how it feels, right? Let it settle in. Think about it. It's like if you press record. Your brain recorded everything you did. You just need to give yourself some time for it to process. If you would just go out now, you would be 30% better just because you just did it. So you know what to expect.
A little bit more of a special day today. We've been building up to more of a pressure situation. So you guys have done the autocross, you've done the car racing, which was a lot of fun. You've done your physical fitness assessment, your media training, you've done your sit-down interviews, you've been on track, you've done onboard video review, you've done data review. Well, we've got a more of a challenging day today that we've got to manage because of a cold front that's come in. It doesn't normally get down to 0 degrees Celsius or 32 or so Fahrenheit, but it has now. That puts some challenges on the race cars and some restrictions on us.
Prodigy has done such a great job getting these cars so close. It's not often you guys get your own tires. The cars are all within 1 or 2 tenths of each other, very, very close. So it's a great opportunity as far as that goes. So with the rest of it, we're gonna wait for the temperature to come up, and then I think we're gonna go look at the car, and we'll talk about elements of the car to help you guys better understand how to tackle the cold temperatures.
We've been talking a lot about how to get the heat to the tire, but the reason that you're doing the accelerating and the braking, it is one, obviously to build temperature in a straight line, it's safer. What you're doing with the braking side is you're building that temperature from within the wheel. That the braking is creating heat. That heat is being put into the wheel, and that wheel is that generating that tire pressure and then that tire temperature from inside out. So you're getting a more core temperature into the tire, and that's the longer lasting stuff.
Really the last chance qualifying and then the tournament bracket for this afternoon. We're going to determine who the bottom 8 are based on timing and scoring. Those bottom 8, we are going to organize LCQs, last chance qualifying, starting around 1 o'clock Eastern. Then what we're going to do, we're going to save 2 of you. One of you will be saved by the fans. Then the judges are going to save a driver as well. They will compete in the tournament bracket later this afternoon.
Honestly, I think today's a little better. I think you sleep on it and
it's like anything, you train in a way that you get used to those conditions.
You push the tires a lot and you do a lot of oversteer, you have no tires at the end. So here you need a lot the right tires because you have some long corners to the left. So yeah, I'm saving a bit of my tires at the end.
Yeah, I don't know how we ended up. I think it was pretty good. Lap felt good. So yeah, I think it should be good. I don't know if we're locked in or not. We'll see.
Good. Obviously, we couldn't go full pace, but I actually got a pretty good feeling for the brake better than yesterday. I don't know if that's due to not running full pace.
It is too cold, so the engine keeps getting colder. The tires or the air's flowing over the tires, making those also get cold.
Lorenz Herzing is just coming out of turn number 4. We're going to watch through turn 6 how aggressive he's going to be.
First lap into turn 6, great run right down on the apex, picks up the throttle on the way off. No slide there, so a little bit of caution. That's not a bad thing at all. He's just making sure right now he's got the grip. He's already gotten a feel up in turn 3 and 4 through the first carousel, whether he's got grip or not.
Job's not done. We still got 2 more guys to beat, and they're going to be some good competitions.
It's just 18.137 seconds, so it's a little bit smaller. They will have maybe a bit more visibility into one another. Ariel out of turn 6, though, maybe not as loose as maybe we would hope. We'll see what that represents in the time.
You saw me like
yes,
every lap. Oh my God!
Yes, and I thought the same thing. You know, I thought I was just a little bit faster, but in the end,
when I stopped the car, I feel, oh my God, I lose that one because I also like in the same position, so it's difficult to judge.
Yeah, exactly.
That was quite wide from Nathan Saxon out of turn number 6. Let's watch Garrett Lowe funnel his way through here as well. That looked a bit tentative, to be honest.
It did. It was a little bit reserved. I expected to see a little bit more aggression that first lap out. And like you said, for Nathan Saxon, a little bit wide. So what are we going to get here from these drivers the first lap by? 24/7.
Where is he finding this time? We've seen no one in these knockouts be able to find that sort of speed. And I tell you what, Nathan Saxon has been slowly and methodically building up. He hasn't been the fastest just yet, but he's showing us that right now.
Both very methodical approaches. They're just in very different industries. The idea, though, to me, how Lorenz won his Prodigy Pass to get here. Gustavo sitting at the wheel of a sim rig, racing like mad, and Lorenz probably in the break room at the airport with his iPhone, right?
Playing street kart racing on his iPhone. Is ready to greet Gustavo aerially at the line. I'll just remind you, in the qualifying session this morning, he did a 1:24.819, so he's very much been able to bring himself back up to that speed, and as he brings himself to the line, he beats that time at 24.714. Drivers just can't help themselves.
Sure, my 4th lap was almost back on pace. I think the 5th lap would be on pace and the 6th would maybe be better, but anyway, it's 4 laps. It's the same for everyone. He got a little practice session ahead, but nevertheless, like I said, he deserves it.
Yeah, the first heat race with David. I didn't warm up my tires so well, and I struggled a bit on the first lap, so it was a tricky race with him. And now I managed to warm up my tires a bit.
Drivers are going to make their way into the cars. Gustavo did also point out something that you and I had talked about, I think, today, in that the way that the track has changed with the conditions, nothing like what he's experienced on the sim before. That was a comment that he made.
Nathan Saxon that is in the lead car, Gustavo Ariel in the second, and all day long the leader has had an advantage. I have no idea why. Let's see if it plays out on this one.
And both of these drivers have led their respective matchups. The margin, 9.703 seconds to be very, very precise. Gustavo Ariel launches it down through the opening corner as he tries to hunt down Saxon, who's up through turn 3, and we're just watching him take that wide arc from the top of the hill. That nice. Very tidy.
Very nice. Car really underneath him through there, down into turn 6. I need like lizard eyes out both sides of my head and trying to watch him. Oh, big slide.
That is going to be at least 0.3 of a second lost there. We'll watch Gustavo Ariel in through turn 6 as well from the broadcast booth.
Oh, he's got it too.
There is a little bit of sideways slip going on.
Both of those drivers pushing harder on the first lap. Yeah, he's got to answer right now. You know, you look at the gap that Gustavo Ariel was able to close. Like I said, he's not going to get it all at one time, but he's got to get it in chunks. He needs some here.
24.9.
Nice. Nice. That was the way to answer. All right, so what is Gustavo Ariel going to have? Both of those drivers putting in really, really strong performances.
The margin at the end, 8.724 seconds. So the winner of this final knockout matchup, it's Gustavo Ariel, the Brazilian.
Should we go to this meeting?
Yeah. Let me just get a snack first.
Snack? I brought a snack.
Oh, that's okay. I'm good.
No. I got this. Told you I brought a snack.
There's a better way to eat pickles on the go. SuckerPunch, the snack with a snap.
Look at the number of participants who had a shot at this, who wanted to be one of 12 of 60-something thousand. I mean, that's impressive in and of itself. What a diverse group of drivers, what a diverse group of participants. Just really cool. They should all be very, very proud.
Players around 4 platforms. I mean, I'm lucky to be here.
We might have changed the
out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. We gotta change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. Hickory, dog, giving them to determine. Right in the storm, but focus on rainbow connections like Kermit. The water on my shoulders, it was a burden. Now I don't notice it, everything turning, everything shifting, doing it different. I'm floating, I'm drifting. Shout out the slums, round the world we uplifted, doing it big. We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. We about to change the game. We out here.
Every one of them deserves to be there, celebrating the fact that they were here and a part of this very first ever Prodigy Week for Racing Prodigy, and what a 3 days it was.
And here we go, they're gonna spray it, and let's see if they've learned how to spray the champagne.
We whittle down the fastest 48 to now the fastest 24. And it's time to do battle. 30 minutes on the clock and a Prodigy Pass on the line. Welcome along to the Prodigy Racing League Mazda MX-5 Cup Golden Ticket Series on RaceRoom, powered by SuckerPunch. Arjuna Kankipati alongside Joey Tebben as we get set to go racing. He's already got his SuckerPunch pickles ready to go, the champ of Chomp. Joey, it's time to chomp our way into the action though, and semi-final 2, we had to wait a little bit of time before we got it underway, but boy, was the action great.
That guy on the pickle jar is me, by the way. They use me as an inspiration. But there was tons of action in those first 2 semifinals, racing for the lead in both semifinals. We had a photo finish in race 1 between Wisniewski and Romanides. A little bit more separation in race 2 with Leandro Werla having a slightly more comfortable win. But now, as always, in this system, the Titans meet, the Prodigy Zipper puts them together on the grid, and I can only imagine how we can get more action-packed than those previous 2 races, but we're going to see it.
And let's not forget, while there is, of course, the Prodigy Pass on the line for the winner, no points being paid out in the overall series. Those come to get you here to the fastest 48, points being built up. 1 Prodigy Pass to be handed out to the overall series champion at the end of the 3 very fascinating rounds. And of course, prizes are on offer for the fastest 25% in the official series. So an incentive for you, if you're not already here, to jump onto racingprodigy.com, get your RaceRoom Game Pass for $14.99. It gets you into every PRL event for the next 12 months on RaceRoom. And the prizes up for grabs in this MX-5 Golden Ticket Series, a SimLab P1X Pro Sim Racing Cockpit, Racing Prodigy gift cards totting up to, if I could do the math in my head quickly, which is always a dangerous proposition, over $1,000. And then you've got about $500-ish of Advanced Motorsports gift cards as well. So make sure you join, get part of the action. That will all support you in your own goal of being a racing prodigy. And Joey, let's not forget, if you're not winning a Prodigy Pass out of one of these events on track, there's always a search selection committee if you can make your case known.
And some of those selected drivers from the selection committee last year were some of the most successful drivers at Prodigy Week and some of the most successful drivers in competition all season long. So there's so many avenues, so many ways to make your way onto this E2 Real pipeline, and there's still possibilities. You at home, I'm looking at you right now. There's still openings. Go do it.
Yeah, not me or Joey, though. That's why we're here in the comments booth. We learned our lack of talent.
I'd be in the bottom negative 25% probably, if I had to guess.
Hey, we had, 60,000 players across 4 platforms in the build-up to Prodigy Week Part 1 in the first season, of course, of our Prodigy Racing League E2 Real tournaments. This is our second part. We've gone away from the tournament format to a series format. A nice change as well. Let's not forget, here on RaceRoom, we are watching all of the fun. On iRacing, their official series going as well. And also with Mazda, it's great to have the MX-5s because, Joey, it's low-powered, wheel-to-wheel racing, and it really tests the racecraft of the drivers.
It's like you're driving a road car, essentially. Low horsepower, just under 200 horsepower, just over a ton in terms of weight. So it's not necessarily a car where you're going to be getting used to big throttle and big oversteer and having to modulate the throttle. It's more about momentum and using the draft and racecraft in and of itself. It's almost like a glorified go-kart. So I can't think of any better car to develop the drivers. That's why you see so many drivers in real life starting in the MX-5 Cup before moving up the IMSA and IndyCar ladder. And you do the same in the sim racing world and get that same development here.
They're getting ready to go. We'll quickly run you down through the starting formation, though, because, of course, they are gridded up on the rows in which they finished in their semi-finals. Which position depends on their fastest race lap. Complicated math, but Nikodem Wisniewski is going to line up at the front. Leandro Werle alongside Michael Romanidis, and then Philip Drees third and fourth, with Turkka Häkkinen, Enzo Filippo fifth and sixth. Leonard Heidegger, Nathan Maximin, and then Martin Barner, Stan Vliestra through the rest of your top 10, with Nico Sonal, Brandon Hawking 11 and 12th, Vile Crevi and Angelo Mikel 13th and 14th, Lucas Wallering, Patrick Shardy, Thiago Mello, Radoslav Orgzal, and then Frieder Braun and Melvin Brandt, the rest of your top 20. Four more drivers, of course: Hassan Gellert, Ivan Fornes, Sven de Vries, and Fernet Pastor in the 24 cars that get ready to go. A quick look at some of the drivers. Tension for them building, because a trip to the Atlanta Motorsports Park is on the line. Great jump from the front, but Leandro Werle is going to get swarmed by Michael Romanidis. Off and away here for the Prodigy Racing League at Mazda MX-5 Cup Golden Ticket Series on RaceRoom, powered by SuckerPunch. And let's be honest, the run into turn one, not the important one. Joey, it's out of here, down through turn three, that the drivers have to maximize their single file up front.
And every semifinal, it was critical to not race side by side too early up front, to make sure you're still in this train and make sure that you can stay in a lead pack for a long period of time. They're side by side for about 6th and 7th. They were 3 wide coming through turn 3 there for a moment. They resolved that fairly well. But look at that single file, 1st through 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, basically, all still in draft range.
They're 3 wide for the last position, by the way. I was just making sure my eyes were not lying to me. They're still 3 wide at the back of the pack, and that is ridiculous. Up front, though, as they head down into turn 5, is it going to be Wisniewski? Is it going to be Romanidis that holds on? I mean, that action is helter-skelter. Look wherever you want. I'm just glad we didn't see any Skittles off and into the kitty litter down through that very deep braking zone. Rise up through turn 6, crest through the hurry downs, side by side, I believe, for what is 17th position. But this is a 30-minute race, Joey, 10 minutes longer than the semi-final. I think the drivers recognize there's a chance for a bit of a breakaway. They can't afford to be left behind if you're at the front.
And there's a little bit more time to craft your moves. You don't really have to be totally aggressive as you did in the previous race, but Häkkinen's gotten into some trouble coming out of turn 8. He's fallen down the order, one of the potential favorites to be in the fight for the win. He's now in this hornet's nest with Angelo Michel and the rest of these guys fighting for about 15th.
Started up in 5th, and like Joey mentioned, he was really fighting elbows out and could have been a contender if he had settled into the rhythm. See Dino Filippo, one of our Prodigy Week 1 participants in the chat, supporting Leandro Werle. Again, let us know who you're cheering for. 30-minute race. It's going to be tense, I think, until we find out who are going to be the contenders. Might be a bit of a 6-car train at the front trying to pull away. You look at 10th on back, side by side, for what would be 14th and 15th or so positions as we head towards Bill Mitchell Bend. Coming to the end of the first lap, those top 6 trying to stay calm and, Joey, build their advantage up towards the front.
And we've got some drivers who have made the final we didn't talk much about. Patrick Chari here, he made the final a little bit deeper in the field than some of the drivers we focused a little bit more on, but every driver in this field fought to be here, and if you're a driver like Chari, you were under the radar this whole time, you're still looking forward, and you could be a real shock if you can hang on to this draft train, but that's going to be a difficult thing to do. You see the draft train up front is only 6 cars long now. Behind that, they've started to fall off.
They're playing a bit of choo-choo train up towards the front in terms of pushing each other in the air around them, just to try and pull away the margin. We saw Romanidis and Nikodem Wisniewski pull away in their respective semi-final. Drees, Werle, and then, of course, a handful of other drivers. It was 4 at the front for most of semi-final 2. So there was the thought that maybe 6 at the front for this final. Not sure if it's going to stay that way. You look off the bumper of the former Williams esports driver. Is he going to get the shove? He will indeed. I mean, Michael Romanidis doesn't look too concerned right now, but here comes a look at the inside. Philip Drees doesn't want to hang around, works his way forward to second.
And this is very smart driving from Romanitas. He saw the dive coming and he didn't fight it coming through turn 5. He slotted in line between Drace and Werla, and these guys have lost no time whatsoever. Still in touching distance of Wisniewski, and they're not going to worry about that too much. But there is trouble at the back for Stan Vlietstra, unfortunately. He's going to be the next big loser falling to the back of the order.
He was apparently quite happy that we were saying his name correctly, so great to hear that we weren't butchering the name. He was tangled up with Lucas Wallering, I do believe, so two at the back starting to drop at away, along with a handful of others. Turka Hakkinen, of course, trying just to hang on. Now on the outside as you curve your way up to the carousel. Now, is there some overlap? Can he still hold the inside line on Charney? He's going to try. He'll give it a good go, and as much as they're going to rub doors, it's not ideal. It's going to check up everyone behind, and through the king. Still side by side, it's a dangerous place to be. Your foot to the floor, you're trying just to hold on and grip on as hard as you can. Now get through safely. What's it going to mean, though, on the run to Canada Corner in the fight for 13?
There's about 8 cars in this battle, and I don't know who's going to end up in the lead at the end of Canada Corner. You've got Shari, you've got De Vries, you've got Obertal, Fornes, Pastor, and Hassan Gellert, and everybody just piling in to turn the Canada Corner here. A little bit of a slide, though, behind Hakkinen. Somehow everybody made it through there. Well, they didn't make it through the end of the corner, though. There goes the Blue Miata around.
Oh, Thiago Mello. I think the
fans are going to be so sad.
Are going to be quite disappointed with that. This is, though, the thing with MX-5 Racing. We got more chaos. Fornes gone around as well. And I believe Hassan Gellert, as well as Radoslav Orbital mixed up there. So we've had about 7 different issues. And now only 15 cars within 10 seconds of your leader. Only 5 cars within a second of your leader. I mean, look at the choo-choo train at the front. They have dropped Leonard Heidegger from their midst, Martin Barner, along with Nathan Maximum, Nico Sonal, and Angelo Mikel in the top 10, also not in this train as they go right now. I mean, 24 minutes to go. There's still a long, long way to go in this one. No panic on the drivers. Philip Drace, by the way, look at the shirt. He's merched up, needracing.com, making sure to represent and looking down to the inside on the run into turn 5.
He says, I need the lead. And he may want the lead, but does he get the lead into turn 5? He's not late enough on the brakes to make that happen. He will be side by side with Wisniewski, though, and that is good news for Heidegger a little bit further back, and even Barna and Maximin. The more they race side by side up front, that slows down the pace of this entire front pack, and that brings any of those stragglers who have lost this that little bit closer. They're still at high speeds, though, side by side, and through turn 7, that was almost Wisniewski and Drace following each other off the road.
Now, though, if you're Michael Romanidis, you got to be careful. You're on the outside in that sucker punch machine, and if you're hung out to dry, those behind can try and close on in. No move being made, though, as through the tight right handle they'll go. And you'll see in these cars as well, because you're not carrying so much speed, you basically just hug the white line. In faster cars, in IndyCar, for example, you might actually roll a little bit more out through the corner, V it back in, and get onto the power a bit more aggressively. But here, it's just about the momentum and trying to carry as little distance as possible. Drace is all over the bumper, though. You get the sense he definitely is quick. It doesn't feel like he's going to be able to pull away into Canada Corner. It might be 5th position that has a look up the inside. No move offered there as we take a look at 1st and 2nd in the bottom corner of your screen.
And it's going to be interesting to see the lap times when they cross the line here, because before this, for the first 2 laps or so, these guys were all single file, but they were side by side up front this time around, and we're going to get to see how much did that lap time drop, and if they continue to race side by side, how much more does it need to drop to bring Heidegger back into this battle, or Barna and Maximin and Sunner as well, because they're all desperately hoping that there is a massive battle up front, or else these next 22 minutes are going to be pretty painful if you're anywhere outside of the top 5.
And don't forget, if you are in the US, that available now, all natural pickle juice shooters for clean hydration, pickled chip pouches, perfect for those long sim racing sessions, or enjoying at the racetrack, or of course the Jared pickles with knockout flavor, the champ of chomp. Get your Sucker Punch products available around the US today. Joey's been enjoying his pickles, and we thank them for their support. Loving the livery as well. Joey, did you just eat another one? You really are loving them, aren't you?
I did. I forgot you could see my camera for a second, but I didn't eat breakfast this morning, so I'm having a pickle breakfast.
I mean, if SuckerPunch needs any more, proof that their product works, Joey, absolutely loving it. I mean, never have you been on a broadcast sent product to eat before. I mean, it's fantastic. Still top 5 running. Heidegger, we're keeping an eye on him. Don't think he closed that time by into turn 5. Joey, the problem becomes, I think, here, if you are at the tail end of this pack, once we get into those closing stages, as strong as the draft is, because it's so easy to defend in many ways with these cars and just blocking momentum, blocking the draft, you're going to need to be further forward. At what point is it go time in this final?
It's still going to be, I think, the last 10 to 5 minutes, because they're still within a margin of being too slow if they're fighting up front. That last lap, when they were fighting, even for just half the lap, that was half a second slower for Wisniewski and for Drace and for everybody in this pack. If they continue to lose half a second per lap, do that 4 laps in a row, Heidegger's 2-second gap is a 0-second gap, and Maximin and Sunner and Barna, they're suddenly within the draft as well. So you have to be careful. You have to balance it. You can slow each other down as much as you want, but you can't slow each other down too much and give about 3 more drivers a chance at fighting you. You need to preserve each other and maximize your chances of actually winning the race.
And speaking of maximizing, Martin Barna has closed up to the back of Nico Sonal and Nathan Maximin, and so hoping that they can all just follow behind Maximin and close on those cars in front. You see left side of your screen, you did for a moment there, some movers and shakers, so there have been drivers that have made moves happen. You're at that stage of the race, though, where it's difficult to really make too much more if you're out of touch with the pack. So the Hungarian driver for Mirror Esports, Martin Barna, has that sight in front of him. We've of course seen Mirror in plenty of different sim racing competitions, had them in the first season of the IMSA Esports Global Championship as well, and see how he continues to charge his way on forward. Up towards the front though, Romanidis defends as behind. Is that a bit of a switch for 4th and 5th position?
I think it may have been. Werla's looking forward, but remember in semifinal 2, Enzo Filippo was the driver who got especially aggressive early. He was looking for the lead. He made a very aggressive pass into turn 1, if I remember correctly. And he's the driver who I'm watching right now, because he has to actually start moving forward in that red and white MX-5 in the back of this train. If you're in 5th with 5 minutes to go, you're going to have a bad time making 4 passes in 2 laps. So he actually has to move forward in increments if he can, and try to not lose the draft making those moves, but also move forward and get closer to the lead before it's too late.
Now that looked for a second, sorry, the intake of breath there was, I thought Philip Drace was pushing your leader down into the braking zone, and it made me distinctly uncomfortable. Behind, back of shot, swap around for 6th position as Maximin, I think, has gone in front of Heidegger. Not sure if there was a mistake there and he's gone deep, but we definitely saw it, and it goes to show, even in cars that, may seem easy like this compared to a prototype with its downforce to think about, one small mistake can be costly. And indeed, Heidegger suddenly drops down into the midst of this pack and shot to the back bumper, contact with Sodal, and Heidegger's now off into the grass.
Yeah, Leonard Heidegger, not to be confused with the existentialist philosopher, but he's probably going to be having some of those thoughts right now, because it was looking so good, and now he's going to be thinking, what was I made for? What's going on here? What can I do? Because right now it's going to be a fight for probably the top dozen at best for him now.
Yeah, he's in that Atlanta Motorsports.
Get a drink of water, Leonard. You deserve it.
He's in that Atlanta Motorsports park machine as well. Really lovely facility, and looking forward to seeing what changes have already been made in the couple of months that we've been away since Prodigy Week Part 1 and Prodigy Week Part 2. They were doing some construction on the apartments and whatnot that are being built trackside there. The SCCA machine of Philip Drace still sits behind, though, making it nice and easy for us to figure out who's in what car. It's the SimLab car that leads as they rise back up towards the line with almost half this race complete. And the gap behind, because of everything that's now happened, is only up to 4.3 seconds or so, but that could be a margin that gives them a little bit more comfort with which to fight. And slightly different, Joey, of course, to the tournaments that we had last year in our first Prodigy Racing League events. There's no prizes for 2nd and 3rd. Your physical prizes, that's all paid out to the top 25% randomly, of course, at the end of the season. So there's no settling for 2nd or 3rd here. There's only winning.
That's what we like to see. We like to see winning rewarded. Obviously, it's somewhat more entertaining if you have wild cards, and it's better for the drivers if they get to go home with an extra trophy, but we want to see fighting for the win. We want to see that be the main goal for every driver in the field, so I'm perfectly happy that only the win matters right now, and that's only going to make this battle more intense. As when we cross the line this time, it's going to be halfway in the race, and you're going to start to see a little bit more motion. The train will derail and decouple very soon.
Oh, and you bring up emotion. I think there's going to be plenty of it at the end of this one, best you believe. 16 winnable Prodigy Passes, by the way, on the line. 6 through RaceRoom, 6 through iRacing, 4 through Street Kart Racing. I think it was mentioned in the Racing Prodigy chat that there are 18 participants in Prodigy Week Part 2. We'll talk more about that in a couple of weeks' time in our second RaceRoom Prodigy Racing League event of the year. Someone also said, oh, there you go, Michael Romanidis has blinked. Someone had literally said a couple of minutes ago, Joey, they'd never seen Michael Romanidis blink, and boom, just like that, we turn our attention to the cameras and the blink of the eye.
He might be Robotnitas, but I really hope he plays the piano at the end of this broadcast. I've only seen that happen once. It was Mr. Brayton Laster, real-life ARCA driver. He broke out a foldable piano on one of the IndyCar broadcasts about 2 years ago, and I hope Michael Romanidis can match that somehow.
Yep, and here we go. Action at the front. It's picking up. Are we going to be playing a major or minor tune? Trace gets his way on forward. Now Romanidis has a look. Oh, and the SuckerPunch car goes around the Greek driver. Not a blink of an expression, although a couple of blinks of the eye, and the rejoin's not the safest, to be completely honest. And there's banging in the pack that's now worked his way on forward, and poor Michael Romanidis.
He got SuckerPunched to the back of the field there. That is so unfortunate. But if there's one thing about Michael Romanidis, you know he'll be back. He may keep taking these hits, but you know he'll be back for the next race room rounds. He'll probably be back on iRacing as well. You're going to keep seeing Michael Romanidis. One of these days, he's going to win one of these things.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's, and maybe if he doesn't, at some point, the search selection committee just has to go, all right, let's get Michael into a radical SR1.
It's been enough. He's suffered enough. He might as well get a shot.
He might as well. I mean, poor guy.
Or he'll just buy his own radical at this point. He'll just skip the whole process. He'll get his own.
I mean, we've seen Michael F1 Esports. He was in IMSA Esports last year as well, subbing in for the likes of real-world drivers Ian Chinguv and Lauren Heinrich as they competed in some of their real-world commitments as well. So top-level driver. We'll see when he finally gets that chance to smile on top. Angelo Mikel, by the way, we didn't really mention it last time we saw his webcam. Love any rig where you are strapped in and you feel at one with the rig. Now, is he at one with the track? Is he at one with the battle up front? Because Wisniewski tried it again, but Drace has held him off as we head up to turn 6.
It's past halfway, and I think all of these drivers have said it's time to fight. We don't need to hold anything back anymore. And they can see further back, they're 3 wide for P5 and P6 and P7. That's especially going to be good for those front 4. They can fight even harder because all of these drivers are losing that front pack even more. They're going to be fighting for 5th at best back here.
I tell you what, I mean, our producer Hugo Luis is having to work overtime right now, chopping between webcams, multiple different cameras, tracking all the different battles. It's the first time that he's ever done anything on RaceRoom before. What a trial by fire. What a great race as well to get welcomed into the world of RaceRoom, and some great racing. One of the things that when I talked about RaceRoom with Moritz Lohner and why he enjoys it so much as an esports platform, what he said was, well, you can race really close together. The netcode's among the best that you can get. And, well, we're seeing some of that close wheel-to-wheel racing, even just inside of the top 10. Vil Krevi has worked his way on forward into this spot and now onto the back of Brandon Hawken.
And as if that battle couldn't get more exciting, how about we bring Brandon Hawken in to make some exciting overtakes? We bring a Finn in with Krevi, and look who's right behind this. Romanidis has recovered to recover right ahead of Hakkinen. This could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 car battle for P5 until the end of this race.
I just have to say, by the way, Turkka Hakkinen, one of the most famous last names in Finnish motorsport, at least to me, growing up in the time when we were all wondering when Mika Hakkinen was going to return from his sabbatical, and the answer is still hopefully soon.
Maybe he has, and he's just changed his name.
Very good point. Maybe
Can we see Turkka Hakkinen's face? Do we know he's not Mika?
At the front of the field, Philip Dre still leads from Wisniewski, Whirler, and then Filippo. Still only 4, and their gap back to Martin Barner has grown to 7, almost 8 seconds. And so they'll be recognizing that, Joey, as we head off into these final 12 minutes. We're at that stage where sunset behind Wisniewski, by the way, from the time we went racing in his semi-final. That's not the only thing that's changed, but these guys can very much start to race.
And what time is it in Poland right now?
That's a good question.
Like
Google has
6
the
p.m.
answer.
6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Leandro racing in Brazil. It's still daytime for him. I like the internationality. There's so many countries represented. I believe 3 continents, if my count is correct today. And you've got drivers like Angelo Michel, who has an Italian first name, a French last name, and he's a German driver. We're just hitting every nation today.
Even Prodigy Week was a relatively pretty international affair. I don't have the numbers in front of me and off the top of my head, but we had plenty of drivers fly over from Europe, including on very short notice, Jan van der Heide, who got the call basically on about 48 hours to come and join us for the first part of the Prodigy Week action. It was great to be able to chat with him a little bit as well about that experience and how hectic it was. Oh, something's happened to Hakkinen, has dropped back and outside of the top 10. Along with Nico Sonal, so I guess you could probably put 2 and 2 together. The 2 of them probably came together, and outside they drop of the top 10.
Yeah, bad news for fans of drivers with umlauts in their names. Hakkinen and Sonal, they're joining the used car lot down there of cars that have been in collisions with each other. There's only a few drivers who haven't been involved in some sort of incident so far today. One of those drivers, now that you can see the Christmas tree lit up on the top of the screen, Sven de Vries, has been totally anonymous, but that's been a very good thing. He's up 12 spots up into P11.
Not bad. It's a good day at the office. And I'll just reiterate something I think we've only mentioned a handful of times today. There's no points paid out here for the official series in the Prodigy Racing League Mazda MX-5 Cup Golden Ticket Series on RaceRoom, powered by SuckerPunch. The points only paid out in the races that get you here to these broadcasted events. The only prize on the line, one of 6 Prodigy passes available through these RaceRoom competitions in the build-up to May. Here's the look, though, because they're drafting, they're pushing, and 3rd and 4th now trying to look to become 1st and 2nd. It will be only the charge, though, to try and get alongside of Nikitin Wisniewski. The draft's going to see him hold on to the outside. He'll try and pinch onto the curb, and great Mazda Racing. They stay 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Great control on the curb in turn 1. It is pretty flat, so you don't really have to worry about jumping the car up into the air. But Enzo Filipao says, I'm going to peek to the inside through turn 3. Isn't able to get the momentum on the tighter radius, though. He's got to slot back in line and now give Whirler some help here. Give him the bump draft. Help him out with the tandem draft to make sure all 4 of these cars still stay together, because they're looking like a little bit of separation might be coming if they continue to fight like this.
Remember, we have 12 Prodigy Pass winners from 2023 watching on to see who will join them as a winner and maybe be part of that draft later this year to become part of the Real World Series. You'll have drivers as well watching on and maybe from the iRacing Series thinking, oh, how are they going? Same from Streetcar. Maybe Craig, Tough Monkey Laws is back in our chat and wondering who is he going to be fighting with come May 13th at the Atlanta Motorsports Park in the physical endurance test that will start things off. Craig, of course, it was mentioned, has spent several months working on his fitness in the hopes of getting to Atlanta, and now those efforts really going to be put to the test. We've got 8 minutes to go, though. Joey, does that mean 3 laps at the line?
Probably. Well, actually, no, because at the line, I think we're going to get to the line in about 1:20 or so.
Is it really 2 to go?
I don't know. I can't do math right now. I can't count back.
That would be 5 minutes left. So
lap times are 2:30, so it should be 3 laps to go at the line.
Okay, good. Okay, we're at least on the same page there, hopefully. I've definitely never commentated on races where I've called the finish a little bit early. That was a look from Leandro Whirler to try and get back a little bit forward. But now as Wisniewski's alongside of Philip Dre, side by side through Bill Mitchell Bend and leaning on one another. Oh, it's not going to end well, surely, as we rise to the final corner.
There's a little bit of asphalt out there, so if you do interlock front and rear bumpers, you can understeer out just a little bit, but you can't afford to go much wider than that because there is grass, and if it's in real life, there's going to be a big old white sign there you're going to be driving through. They did a good job of saving it that time, but you can only lean on each other so much in the final 3 laps until it ends in a spin like Michael Romanidis had a couple laps ago.
And the fact that Romanidis had an issue, a driver of that level, goes to show, happens to anyone when you're pushing this hard. To the line, 2x2, into turn 1. Drace on the outside, this time in his SCCA machine, the black SimLab entry of his new. He's going to have the advantage, and heading down into what is the braking zone of turn 3, if he can clear himself, he has the chance to just slingshot through, even if he gives up some draft. Not going to work out that way, and now we're playing side drafting effectively. Bump drafting as well, potentially. Whirler sits in third. Philippau's going to go driver's right-hand side to try and make it 2x2. I mean, no matter where you look in this lead pack, drivers are making decisions that have immense consequences. Drace is getting a shove from behind that's going to see him hold on to the lead into the braking zone. Side by side for second, they battle.
Despite what it appears like, this is not tandem drafting at Talladega in the car of tomorrow in NASCAR. These are still MX-5s, and it is absolute craziness. Which of these tandems is going to end up winning out? Philip Drace is actually having to do a little bit of NASCAR-style driving right now and block off the 2 lanes. Does he block off Wisniewski? Does he block off Whirla? Whoever's got the bigger run, he's got to make a game-time decision on every one of these straights.
I mean, I'm getting nervous. I'm very, very tense, and I'm not even a driver. Imagine being one of their family members and getting ready to cheer them on. When we went to Atlanta last year for Prodigy Week Part 1, we had a handful of the past winners bring their families over. Garrett Lowe's relatively local. It was great to talk a little bit with his father. Ciro Zambra's relatively local, North Carolina, relatively. Ciro Zambra's family came over from Europe, definitely not local. It was great to see the support that he got as well. I'm looking forward as well to chatting to these drivers in the build-up to hear their level of excitement. I mean, Gustavo Ariel was so pumped to win the first Prodigy Pass in 2023. Someone will become the first winner in 2024, and we're only 5 minutes away from finding out who. There was a little snap of oversteer there in that second place machine as they all worked their way, still single file for the time being. But Joey, there is no waiting now. It's hammer time as we get towards the line.
Yeah, it's only 2 laps to go. That was a Garrett Low Cole joke, by the way. But
I see.
That didn't work out. It was a low percentage move.
Yeah, it was not a very good joke as well.
Didn't work. There's good news in the chat, by the way, as they're going to continue to fight with 2 laps to go. I don't believe we've talked about this already, but David Cook says that 2 winners from last year that weren't able to make the journey, they're going to be invited back to this Prodigy Week to actually get it going.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that in a couple of weeks' time. So it's something that we will very much be looking forward to chatting about in, I forget the exact date, but when we go racing at Brands Hatch. And there's still time for you to get your Prodigy Pass, the Racing Prodigy membership, for your RaceRoom Game Pass, $14.99. You get entry into every PRL event on RaceRoom for the next 12 months and gets you an opportunity to still be part of winning one of 5 Prodigy Passes. Joey, as we've talked about, though, this is a very different sort of a race to what we'll see probably at Brands Hatch in Mid-Ohio.
Yes, there's actually heavy braking zones here. There's one of those at Brands Hatch, but there's not many. And Philip Drace and Wisniewski making a little bit of contact this time. But there we go. We finally lose Leandro Whirla. He's the first loser out of this battle, unfortunately. It was bound to happen eventually, and he comes off the worst.
And unfortunately, the Whirler fans in chat going to be frustrated, but he's deposited into another battle, so he'll end the final 3 minutes still fighting with a handful of others, and it leaves us now with just 3 to focus at the front. And now, we haven't seen too much of Filippo fighting necessarily with the 2 drivers that have sat 1 and 2 for so long, so he's now got his first opportunity to try and figure out which way is he going to go, how is he going to help them, and Joey, could we be 3 wide at the end?
We very well could. But I don't know if all 3 of these drivers are still going to be with us in this battle at the end of the race. We lost Michael Romanidis a couple laps ago. We lost Leandro on this lap. Those dives are not over, and the contact is not over either. If there's a possibility of all 3 of these drivers coming together as Philippau's on the draft and in the grass and almost in the wall down the back straight, Maximin and Barna might not be totally out of this if these guys come to blows.
Right, that's something we've never seen before, and it goes to show what's on the line. The chance for one of these drivers to get a chance they've probably been dreaming about for a while, and to go to a track like the Atlanta Motorsports Park as well. It might not be known as a track that's seen, great racing series there, but trust me, it's a roller coaster of an experience, and it's a true trial by fire in the Radical SR1s. There's Filipao in the pitch black of the night for him, effectively now as the sun has set, and he is now just focused on what's in front. Here we go. One more lap at the American National Park of Speed. 3 drivers fighting for a chance to go to the Atlanta Motorsports Park. Which way will it go, Joey? We're about to find out.
Full focus. It looked like Enzo Filipao's house was on fire. Nikodem Wisniewski is at night in Poland, and Philip Drace is trying to hold them both off. They're going to be side by side for second coming through turn 1. They resolved that fairly quickly, and that's good news for both of them. They need to be as close as humanly possible to Philip Drace coming out of turn 3 here, get the full effect of the draft into turn 5. And now we wonder, is anybody brave enough to go for it this early, or are they going to wait for Canada corner like Michael Romanidis did and Wisniewski did in semifinal 1?
Now, the other thing to consider is Filipao's dive slightly off-put Wisniewski in towards turn 3, and so now he is forced to try and make the dive a little bit late, and so now as they jink back to the right, try to open up the corner, he can't even switch it back in his black SimLab entry on the white SCCA machine, so Drace will hold as they run up towards the Corvette bridge to the left. For one final time, they flick the cars. They're fighting, by the way, for 4th position, but it doesn't really matter. It's full eyes focus up towards the front. I just want to make sure you know this great racing, a staple of the MX-5s. Through the carousel now, Joey, these drivers have got to time it, because through the kink, it's the slingshot they're looking for.
And Wisniewski is going to have the best chance here. Enzo Filipao is just going to be hoping for those front 2 to make contact now, because it is going to be so hard to do the 2-in-1 special coming into Canada corner, but it's all about the exit here. Out of the carousel, it is full throttle through the kink and full throttle all the way to that heavy braking zone at Canada corner. It was side by side in semifinal 2 in a very similar situation, and I'm getting deja vu already.
I think, though, he's timed it decently. Filipao doesn't have a chance to close and get to the inside. Drace, though, able to jink just in time to cover the inside. 3 wide as expected. Who's deepest of the brakes? Oh, Filipao gets it stopped just in the nick of time. Drace gets bullied down to 3rd, but Wisniewski around the outside, and with a move that maybe sends him to the Atlanta Motorsports Park. A drag race to the line will still ensue. Can Drace get to the inside to deprive us of that? No, he'll tuck back into line, and watch this, a climb towards the flag stand. Wisniewski's not sure, he thinks he's got it, he's grooving, but on the run to the line, the run to the first Prodigy Pass of 2024, it's Nikodem Wisniewski winning and going to the Atlanta Motorsports Park to drive at Prodigy Week Part 2.
What a finish. What a finish. And they were 3 wide into Canada corner. That's exactly what we wanted to see. And it ends in absolute glory. And I think Nikodem's just trying to realize if he's actually won this race. And I think he's doing a little bit of donuts by the wheel movement.
That is an esports driver if I have ever seen one. I guess from his perspective, right? Only one part of the job is still being done. He's won the Prodigy Pass. Now he's got to go and deliver with all the different challenges that will be thrown his way. And of course, he'll make the journey over from Europe to Atlanta. And it will be, I'm sure, an experience he won't forget. And I'm sure some of the meals that they'll share, plenty of camaraderie to be built amongst the contenders out there. There's a look at the race results. The margin of victory, a tenth and a bit at the line between Wisniewski and Filipao. Drace down in 3rd, and then Barna scored in 4th. In a barn burner of a fight that seemingly ensued. Werler, Mikkel, Hawkin then through 7th, with Cravey, Shari, and De Vries completing the top 10. Not sure where Maximin ended up getting DQ'd from that race, but he drops to the back alongside of Romanidis. 11th of Pastor, who worked his way back forward from the back. Brandt 12th, Gellert 13th, Wallering, Fornes, Sonal, Orbital, and then Braun, Mello, and a handful of others round out the rest of the running order. Well, Joey, we can take a breath for the first time today, and I've got to say, Mazda's Prodigy Racing League, yes, please, let's have more of this.
Let's do it again. Brands Hatch coming up soon. Mid-Ohio coming up soon as well. I can only imagine what both of those are going to give us. Brands Hatch is going to be a little bit tougher of a place to pass, but it is high speed, high commitment all the way around. I don't know. I might have to get a CPAP machine or something because there's going to be a lot less breath going through there.
I think what we are going to see is potentially a bit more side-by-side in that you can run through a lot of that track wheel to wheel without compromising too much. It's not necessarily easy, takes a lot of skill, and that's why we'll leave it to the best of them to go out there and battle. One driver that won't need to battle, though, because he got it wrapped up here today, winning his Prodigy Pass, the first time of asking in 2024. We welcome Nikodem Wisniewski to the commentary booth. And Nikodem, first off, congratulations. How do you feel right now? You've just won a Prodigy Pass and you're heading to Prodigy Week at the Atlanta Motorsports Park.
Thank you. I mean, it was a really tough race. I mean, we saw like two guys spinning. I don't know what happened exactly with the first one. I mean, we were fighting with Michael. I saw him on the radar. He was fully inside. I went to the left. I think it was too late to avoid the contact. So I'm not sure what happened there. The next contact with Leonardo, I think, into the left-hander, the end of the sector 1. I think it was just unlucky incident. So really shame that it ends to him like that, because I think everyone really deserved the Prodigy Pass. I mean, it was a really tough race. It was a good race to watch. I hope. So I think that the emotion was there, were there not only for the viewers but for the drivers for sure. So yeah, really happy that I could go to the USA. I mean, that was my dream, to be honest, to be in the USA for a few years. So hopefully gonna be there and fight for the overall victory. I mean, I can't really wait this opportunity.
You have been sim racing competitively at the top level for quite a while. We mentioned it on the broadcast. You recently brought a 5-year stretch with Williams Esports to an end. So you've seen lots of top-level sim racing competition. Racing Prodigy, of course, is preparing for its Prodigy Draft, where the Prodigy Week drivers would maybe be selected to race in the real-world PRL series as a paid pro racing driver. What would that mean to you as someone who's seen the ups and downs of what top-level sim racing is all about?
Well, I mean, for me it was really important to be in the real motorsport from the beginning, but I mean, at some point I realized that it will be very hard, of course, thanks to the opportunities like that or the others competitions that I were doing from sim to real. It is possible, but I mean, I focused more on the esports side of it. That's why I became like a full pro and do it for the Williams for the past 5 years. As you said, our journey came to an end, and now it's time for the new adventures. So I think I'll announce what is the next step in a few days. So yeah, really excited about the future. Looking forward to the other competitions as well to do. So yeah, really happy overall to be part of the sim racing world, and really happy to see that something like Prodigy is created, and the sim racers can do something more on the real track, because I think it's a dream for like 99% of the sim racers.
One more question, we'll let you go celebrate. Of course, Road America, lots of drafts. We kind of expected it to be draft heavy. Mid-Ohio, Brands Hatch, those are the two tracks we've got next. What should we expect going forward to them? Of course, you don't need to race them. You've already got your Prodigy Pass.
Yeah, Brands Hatch will be a tricky one. I mean, it's a really cool track. Doesn't have that super long straights. So I think it will be less slipstream show, I would say, but still it will be part of it. I mean, these cars don't have enough horsepower to like go alone and try to win. I think every single time it will be cooperating. Like the cooperating drivers will have a benefit of that, especially that is like Brands Hatch is like uphill section, and Mid-Ohio I'm not really sure. I think I only drove Mid-Ohio once in my career, so I didn't even remember the layout. Yeah, that's crazy. But I think that it's a really cool track. But from my mind, I can't really tell you the corners. So need to figure it out, because maybe I will drive it just for fun.
Well, I'm telling you, you should go and drive the Atlanta Motorsports Park because you've got to get used to it before you're there. Yeah. May the 13th to kick things off. Congratulations, Nicodem. Best of luck for the rest of 2024, and we'll see you at Prodigy Week later on in May.
Thank you so much. See ya.
So that was a quick chat with our race winner in the first round of the Prodigy Racing League Mazda MX-5 Cup Golden Series on RaceRoom, powered by SuckerPunch. Interesting to hear there, Joey, that Nicodem really does feel draft is still going to be important when we go to Mid-Ohio and to Brands Hatch. And of course, I will just remind everyone before I get your thoughts, $14.99. It's not too late to get your RaceRoom Game Pass on racingprodigy.com if you want to be part of the action at Brands Hatch.
And also, if you want to spend $14.99, I believe you can get 2 of these jars at your local Whole Foods. So there's always options. But yeah, draft is going to be, there you go. Arjun is always showing me up. He's either got the watch or he's got 2 pickles. Some of us aren't making that San Francisco software salary, Arjuna.
Well, did you not find both of the flavors? Because what happened was
they did have the flavors. I just like a bread and butter pickle. I'm not the biggest fan of the spicy pickle or the dill pickle. I like a bread and butter pickle. So I was very glad. I navigated those bougie people in the Darien, Connecticut Whole Foods, and I'm so glad I got this.
Just a reminder, March the 17th for Brands Hatch, March the 31st for Mid-Ohio. So much excitement that my camera has decided that it no longer wants to work. What a perfect way to bring to an end what has been a chaotic day in the Prodigy Racing League. What a way to open up 2024, and the journey to May the 13th is only just getting underway. Don't forget to join us on all channels for the Prodigy Racing League action as we work our way forward to the Atlanta Motorsports Park in the E to Real journey.
Look at the number of participants who had a shot at this, who wanted to be one of 12 of 60-something thousand. I mean, that's impressive in and of itself. What a diverse group of drivers, what a diverse group of participants. Just really cool. They should all be very, very proud.
Players around 4 platforms. I mean, I'm lucky to be here.
We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. Hickory, dog, giving them to determine. Right in the storm, but focus on rainbow connections like Kermit. The water on my shoulders, it was a burden. Now I don't notice it, everything turning, everything shifting, doing it different. I'm floating, I'm drifting. Shout out the slums, round the world we uplifted, doing it big. We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. We about to change the game. We out here.
Every one of them deserves to be there, celebrating the fact that they were here and a part of this very first ever Prodigy Week for Racing Prodigy, and what a 3 days it was.
And here we go, they're going to spray it, and let's see if they've learned how to spray the champagne.